Yes, guys, I took a stab there. Haven't done that for a while. I haven't really listened to that song for a while because, of course, Mr. Robert Roode has become relatively irrelevant as of late in WWE, unfortunately. But this reminded me of the glorious days of Bobby Roode in NXT. Thought I'd play that for my entrance, and of course, shine the light on me, and of course, the darkness. And I'm feeling absolutely glorious today. Had a really good day yesterday. One of the better days I've had in quite a long time. And also my sister's in town. But tonight, she's out visiting some friends. So I am going to be here tonight doing this top 10 special live stream of the week. So guys, what is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and this is going to be a long top 10 special live stream for sure. We've got a lot to talk about in this one. We are continuing on, of course, the top 10 NXT specials for sure, as I said, to bring some more power positivity in this channel. There was some positive news today about WWE, though, which could be positive, which I'll address very quickly before we get started, is apparently they have hired both Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff to be executive directors, oversee the creative of Raw and SmackDown Live. Heyman on Raw, Bischoff on SmackDown Live, which is, I think, is a very interesting thing for sure, because does this mean that Vince is at least giving up, creative and, just at least overseeing things, not being, just, running creative, whatnot? Who knows? But I definitely am very excited about that. Hopefully that will get WWE a little more back on track, maybe not completely cure them of their recent struggles as recent, but maybe it will, bring some to the table. The question is, of course, is when is this happening? We hope immediately. I have a feeling, though, they may wait until after. My guess is with them already starting the build for Extreme Rules, maybe they'll go into effect after Extreme Rules. We'll have to wait and see. But I just wanted to, throw it out there. Definitely said that definitely interests me, and hopefully that means that Vince is stepping out creative. The wild card rule will go away unless it already has gone away, and the brand split's already dead. Who the hell knows? But yeah, enough though about the main roster. Let's talk about some of these guys who were, who were great before their painful days on the main roster, and that is, of course, NXT. Now, this top 10 list, again, this top 10 stream is going to be long, because for the first time on this channel, there's going to be not one, not two, not even three, but four top 10 lists we're going to do. When coming up with this top 10 list I was going to do, and no, we're not doing best and worst. We're doing all bests, because trust me, there's very few matches in NXT I can say that I disliked. I mean, only one I can really think of off the top of my head that I didn't like was a match in last year's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. I mentioned it several times. Can't remember which day it was, but I remember it was like the second round, I think. It was the Authors of Pain. Yeah, it had to be second round because Authors of Pain beat TM61 the first round, which I was very surprised by that. But Authors of Pain and Street Profits. I remember I hated that match because they kind of made the Street Profits look silly in that match, and it just kind of looked like jokes. I wasn't a big fan of it at all. But It's the only match I can think of that I didn't like in NXT. But I had a lot of matches that I definitely wanted to count on this card, involving the men, involving the women, involving tag teams. Because if you notice, on main roster, some of the greatest matches of all time are very superior with, the men. Some tag matches, but there's some women's matches who are, that are definitely awesome. But NXT has really, I've said over the years, really, equally as best they could evolve all the different aspects. Yes, the tag team division kind of got to a little bit of a slow start at the beginning. But as I've always praised NXT for, especially, it's brought out some great tag teams, brought out some great men's single stars, but also, of course, the biggest thing NXT has done definitely is brought out the best in women's wrestling for sure. So that's why for this top 10 list, now I'm not going to do what I usually do. I usually do half the list, check the live chat, do the second half. But this one, since we have 4 top 10 lists to get through, which the fourth one's not going to be too long, so I've been discussing all of them. But I'm going to read all 10 on each on one list, live chat, and the next 10 live chat, third 10 live chat, and so on. But of course, we're going to do, well, you guys pick. The three of the lists are the men, women, tag team. Pick which one you want me to do first, and then I will, of course, go from there. But the fourth list, I went through the 3 lists and took out the best 10 of those matches to consider the best ones all time, just for something different. Because once again, I felt that I need to look at all 3 of these categories just to see which one's the best of all time. Because NXT has definitely, again, brought some really, really great stuff over the years in these matches. So this is definitely going to be a long stream. And again, I do apologize about this stream starting a little late, though. We had a brief power outage about an hour ago, and I just wanted to be safe that, it wasn't going to happen again. But yeah, so guys, let's check the live chat first. Again, let me know which list we do first: men, women, or tag titles, or tag teams. We got to do the all-time one last, of course. So let's check the live chat. Let's see who we got here today. We got let's see here. We got Tyler and Rob. What's up, guys? Tyler says, I hope so, to my my brief thoughts on Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman being hired as executive directors overseeing creative for Heyman for Raw, Bischoff for SmackDown. I hope so too. I hope they get back on track and get rid of that wild card rule. Unless, once again, the wild card rule has already been dead because they didn't even acknowledge people as wild cards this week. Again, Tom Phillips flat out said, yeah, Alexa Bliss, who's not here tonight, Alexa Bliss is on Raw. She shouldn't be on SmackDown. But no, the wild card rule has to, has to be in effect because I'm a genius. I'm a genius. I'm a genius. What's up, Robbie? He says, will that women's steel cage match be on this list? Maybe. And he has to do the women first. And you took away my dream, or how does it feel? How does it feel? As it is now. But since Robbie asked for the to do the women first, I guess that's the one I will do first. So once again, guys, instead of doing half live chat, half, I will I'm going to do, all 10 of this list, then check the live chat. So I'll do the women first, and then request which one you want me to do second, the tag teams or the men. So let's get rolling here as I now start with my top 10 NXT women's matches of all time. Starting off with number 10 is a match that I definitely think is one of the more underrated matches in NXT. It's definitely one of the best hidden gems for sure of all time. But to me, it just made this list for one of the better women's matches of all time. Asuka versus Emma at NXT TakeOver London. Very underrated match, I think, for sure. Not just because, of course, it was one of Asuka's first matches. Well, her first one was TakeOver Respect against Dana Brooke, which was all right. But Dana Brooke, of course, was still, kind of green in the ring. And once again, rushed up to the main roster way too soon, even though I think the plan was for her and Emma to continue their alliance on the main roster. But once again, Emma got hurt, and then they threw Dana Brooke with Charlotte Flair, and we all know that wasn't really, that great of an idea in the end. But this time we had Emma taking on Asuka. Definitely a match just showing how underrated Emma is for sure. Now, Emma's actually on this list again, for another match. But this, of course, was after, Emma kind of, reignited her career. She started off as like, the dancing, which when I watched a certain match recently, that's on this list also. I saw an NXT, I'm like, you know what? NXT at least made it look like, something cool. On main roster, you kind of made it all dorky and quirky and just like made her look like an idiot, basically, with that dancing gimmick. But this new evil Emma gimmick, man, was Emma hot with that gimmick for sure. And I mean hot as in, great actor in general, and her look, damn, definitely one of the more underrated looking women for sure WWE's ever had. But anyways, I thought this match was really good. Again, brought out the best in Asuka, but also again showed how Emma is definitely a serious contender also. Of course, these two did have a great match in Asuka's main roster debut at TLC 2017. Even though once again, it was kind of one of those matches where, okay, Emma had been watered down recently, so kind of give her a good match against Asuka kind of looked a little strange, but this match I still definitely remember. Again, it was still one of the first takeovers I'd ever watched. Actually, only the third takeover I'd ever watched. This was the opening match. This is, of course, my first match when I saw Asuka in there as well. But definitely some great, counters in there. Some people did. The critics I read thought that the ending was a little too dramatic. That they thought with Dana Brooke getting involved and her getting eliminated or getting kicked out from ringside, but then Asuka just hitting a couple like strong kicks on Emma to get the win. But it was still, I thought, a great match. Other than that, that was a little bit of a factor. I kind of agree a little, but I still thought this was a great match, definitely, especially not just to showcase Asuka's talent early in her NXT run, but to also remind us that hey, Emma is definitely someone to watch out for as well. That WWE should have booked better on the main roster. I know injuries happen. Of course, the Emelina gimmick happened as well. 17 painful weeks of getting vignettes every single week until she shows up and then just goes back to just being Emma, which worked better because apparently the Emelina gimmick was not, working out backstage for her. So poor Emma, but now she's on the indies doing great stuff. So, I definitely wish her the best. And hey, maybe she'll check out AEW or something like that. I like to see Miss Tennille Dashwood do so. Check out AEW as well. So Emma and Asuka, great match. My number 10 from NXT TakeOver London. Number 9, speaking of Emma, is Paige versus Emma, the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Arrival. I watched this match, of course, about a month ago for the first time. Definitely, missed seeing Paige in action as well. Of course, this is at the beginning of, the whole, women's evolution and whatnot. And even though, we do have, this is right before, the likes of Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Bayley, the 4 horsewomen, being the true empires of the women's division. We do forget that, Paige was someone also kind of, started this up in general, which of course played very well into her storyline when she returned to WWE after a year and a half of, personal issues and physical injuries as well. But that character for her was just so perfect when she came back. It's unfortunate it got cut off because of her career-ending injury she suffered against Sasha Banks, which it's an accident, it happened. Never held Sasha Banks accountable for it. But of course, this match also reminded us that there were still other women as well who were talented. And of course, in the words of Mandy Rose, there was Paige also, as Paige definitely set the standards for this women's division for sure with the NXT Women's Championship run she had. Of course, it was kind of brief because she got called to the main roster and she got stripped of it. Because she would call up and immediately dethrone AJ Lee. But I thought this was a great match. And then, of course, showcasing, the great talent that Emma had as well. As again, she was over with the crowd. Like, her dancing gimmick was over. And again, NXT at least made her look, like a reasonable competitor, not just like something like airhead, like quirky and dating Santino. Well, Santino Morella thought it was a date, but it was never really a date or whatever the heck it was. And that pairing was just so weird for sure. But definitely, definitely that match felt deserved to be on this list as well. As definitely one of the first women's matches. Is the arrival of the women's division, even though once again it was not the one in the 4 horsewomen. It was some people were, especially Paige, of course, remind, hey, these are people who made this women's evolution happen as well, and that's why one's on my list at number 9. Now, honorable mention, I actually for some reason realized I left off any of the matches involving Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane, they definitely had some great history together as well, and some great title matches as well, such as with at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3, they had a really good match. At War Games, one, they had a great 2 out of 3 falls match, I thought. And even the match at Evolution last year was not bad. But honorable mention when I threw out there, I didn't include them on that list for sure, but definitely honorable mention material for sure for them. But number 9 again was Paige and Emma for the NXT Women's Championship at NXT Arrival. Number 8 was Asuka versus Nikki Cross for the NXT Women's Championship, last woman standing. And if I have the date correct, I believe it was June, the NXT episode from June 28th, 2017. Amazing match. During a time, of course, where Asuka was kind of in, like, her character was in a little bit of like a strange position. She was still meant to be a babyface in some ways, but she kind of came up with a little bit of like a heelish tactic. Well, more, because that was during a time where she was in the middle of her feud with Ember Moon. Ember who? And they had that match at TakeOver Orlando, in which was good, but when Ember went to go hit her Eclipse, Asuka reverted to a heel tactic, pushed the referee for a distraction, as for the first time, Asuka realized her undefeated streak and her championship run was in jeopardy. So, of course, she kind of, targeted Ember Moon somewhat as a heel, but everybody else was kind of like a baby face. And of course, since Ember Moon was injured, even though it played in very well with the storyline with her and Asuka, which, of course, we'll get to that later, we had her kind of get inserted into the Ruby Riott and Nikki Cross feud, which eventually it led to this match on the June 28th episode of NXT in 2017. And it was just amazing. The use of weapons, again, especially in NXT. Main roster took a while, but anytime women, especially in NXT, have had like a stipulation match, they've really taken the ball and they ran with it. But especially in this match for sure. I like the part where Asuka put like a trash can on top of Nikki Cross and was like doing her kicks on the trash can, like her hard kicks to knock around Nikki Cross. So obviously would fit her well with her at the time she was psychotic and crazy, not Miss Gossip Girl crazy as she is right now with Alexa Bliss. This, again, the use of weapons. There was a spot where I think there was suplex onto a big pile of steel chairs into a table, whatnot. Also, as well, which I think was how the match ended. But it was definitely a physical match, with the hard hitting style of Asuka and the psychotic, crazy risks that Nikki Cross would take, as of course as her character was at the time in NXT, which she loved pain. Just of course, I will mention also, I thought was a good match was her match with Shayna Baszler. Nikki Cross's match with Shayna Baszler last year at TakeOver Chicago 2, where Nikki Cross passed out, but she was smiling because once again her character is, I love pain, I like pain. Now it is just, oh, Gossip Girl, Alexa Bliss, my best friend. But it's strange as hell. But of course, still, this match was amazing. Needless I say, probably Nikki's best match, I gotta say. And of course, one of Asuka's best matches for sure. Not her best, but one of her better matches, because this is not the last time we're going to hear Asuka on this list for sure. But that is my number 8, Asuka versus Nikki Cross in the last woman standing match for the NXT Women's Championship on the June 28th, 2017 episode of NXT. Number 7, one of the most underrated matches of all time for sure in NXT. Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. NXT Women's Championship at NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. Of course, every one of the 4 horsewomen in NXT had their moments, even though 3 out of the 4 of them won the championship. Becky Lynch was the only one who didn't. And she was still, still considered one of the better women's wrestlers. Of course, as for a brief time, her and Sasha Banks were best friends and kind of like a little bit like an alliance and whatnot. After Becky turned on Bayley, which then led to the alliances. And of course, Charlotte, even though, as Charlotte mentions, I was only really a baby face when I was, because I was putting on good matches and was well respected by the fans. Ric Flair's daughter was not meant to be liked, basically, as she said. Which of course she kind of showed, like, she was meant to be liked. She kind of gained a respect for Bayley after their match at previous pay-per-views. Which of course also this pay-per-view was when Charlotte and Bayley teamed up against Emma and Dana Brooke. And then, of course, the pay-per-view before that was a Takeover Unstoppable. Takeover Arrival, we had the fatal four-way between the Four Horsewomen. And, of course, those during time were starting to tease the breakup between Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks as their, friendship alliance and whatnot. And this is kind of when it imploded. And eventually Becky Lynch would, of course, be number one contender when she defeated Bayley and Charlotte in a triple threat match to earn this match. And it was a great submission mat type wrestling, strong match. Probably, I'd still say maybe my match of the night at Takeover Unstoppable. This was the first NXT Takeover I'd ever watched. I mean, I didn't really, watch episodes of NXT, of course, before this, but it was great. It was a great match, and to me, it was Becky's big moment in NXT. Even though she didn't win the championship, that was like kind of like the match where, the crowd really won her over. I mean, Charlotte had, of course, done that at the beginning. Sasha Banks, even though a heel, had been doing that for quite some time. And, of course, she was definitely destined to be NXT Women's Champion. Becky had her moment here. Of course, Bayley, of course, had been built up as the underdog. Everyone wanted to have that big moment. She was the last one to get that big hurrah later on in this list. We'll talk about that. But yeah, definitely one of the better. And of course, again, just both women just attacking the arms with being submission specialists for the most part with the disarmer and the bank statement. This is well before also Becky Lynch was doing her manhandle slammer, or heck, her new finisher is called, as she started doing recently. But yeah, so Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, NXT Takeover Unstoppable is my number 7 for the women. Number 6 for the top 10 women's NXT matches of all time. And once again, if you're in the live chat, suggest which one you want me to do second, men or tag team. Number 6, Bayley versus Sasha Banks, but not the one you guys are thinking of. The NXT Women's Championship 30-minute Iron Man match at NXT TakeOver Respect. I saw this match for the first time also a couple months ago, because that was actually the latest takeover I had never seen, was TakeOver Respect. Of course, as I've mentioned before, what I really liked about these NXT takeovers that have had themes like Unstoppable, Rival, Respect, Rival, or I said Rival, sorry, Our Evolution and whatnot. These takeovers have really played into the theme. And this one especially played into the theme with, the finals for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic and respect towards Dusty Rhodes, of course, with his recent death beforehand. And of course, this match as well. This was the first time women have main evented a pay-per-view. And of course, it had a nice stipulation of a 30-minute Iron Man match, giving that special feel to it, to this really great rivalry, despite the fact that, of course, Sasha Banks was still heel, but the storyline, she kind of gained a little more respect for Bayley. But also, these two played their characters very well in this match, gotta say. The wrestling, excellent, but same thing with the characters. At first it was a respectful, little contest. It's both these women were, even though, they were still playing in character, as Sasha Banks did go full heel throughout this match. Of course, at the beginning and at the end, they show the sign of respect, show that, hey, this is about, even though their characters, like Pam Martinez and Mercedes, whatever the heck Sasha Banks' real name is, knew that this was a moment in history, and they had to, acknowledge that as well with this match as well, getting, the main event of a pay-per-view, as the women had never really done before. And of course, played into, the first fall with, Sasha Banks, kind of going somewhat heelish, then going full on heel for the second fall to have Sasha get Bayley to be counted out as they brought outside the ring. Of course, it's also the match where Sasha stole Izzy, Bayley's number one fan, her bow, and put it on her head to mock Bayley, and threw it into the crowd and whatnot. obviously, giving Bayley that underdog feel, but Bayley would eventually come back and win 3 falls to 2, getting Sasha Banks to tap out with like a one arm, arm bar will look like, or something like that, to submission to get Sasha to tap out for the 3rd and final fall. And afterwards, of course, and I really appreciate when Triple H does this to like any wrestler, whether it's like a historic moment or like a farewell. Of course, this was Sasha Banks' swan song. This was Sasha's final match in NXT because she was already up on the main roster. But Triple H comes afterwards, gives Sasha a bouquet of flowers to acknowledge her historical moment, and for Bayley as well, just to acknowledge, what this night meant. I mean, he's done that for, other superstars who have, whether it's men or women, well, men, I'm sure he doesn't always get flowers too, but, especially the women, just acknowledging, this is a moment in history and whatnot, or, just honoring these women for, their accomplishments, making these people actually feel important and feel like, what their accomplishment means. So, like, that's why I appreciated, like last Sunday at Stomping Grounds, whenever we see Ricochet getting congratulated backstage to win his first singles title on the main roster, and Triple H, give him a hug and whatnot. Like, that was great. When Kofi Kingston was on his road to, become a number 1 contender to face Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, having the Bayface backstage and everybody showing support, constantly also mentioning that they support Kofi and whatnot, wasn't overdone, but it was still just it was something different and something feel more organic and whatnot to be put into it. And I appreciate those moments for sure. And definitely with the women getting this opportunity to main event a show after what they'd done in the previous pay-per-view, and just this moment as well respected, and that's why it's my number 6 for best women's matches of all time. My number 6, once again, is Bayley versus Sasha Banks for the NXT Women's Championship 30-minute Iron Man match at NXT TakeOver. Respect. Get a swig of water. We're halfway through the women. Once again, since we have 4 lists to get through, I'll keep going before I check the live chat again. Number 5. All I got to say about this one is I don't need friends. Number 5, yes, is the match that happened in last night's main event, which is so far my women's match of the year. And that match is Shayna Baszler versus Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship in last night's edition of NXT, the Steel Cage match. That was, well, first off, what I didn't mention last night in my NXT review. First off, Shayna Baszler came out with some like MMA attire on, with like her gloves and whatnot, making this, of course, feel like like a little octagon match and whatnot. And she treated it like that as well too, with the use of the steel cage. And keep in mind, we had just had like a very meh-looking steel cage match between Kofi and Dolph Ziggler this past Sunday, which I'm pretty sure the only reason why it was steel cage was Vince wanted to see that one spot. I'm pretty sure Vince will come with like one spot he wants to see in a match. That's the only reason why he's gonna have the match happen, because that one spot. You gotta make the rest of the match interesting here, people. But anyways, as I said before, with these stipulation matches, it took a while to lose on the main roster, well, because of their limitations and whatnot, for the women to just go all out like they did. Like the first match, I felt the women really went all out that involved the stipulation was last year's women's Money in the Bank ladder match. That, of course, I thought some people, especially Becky Lynch for sure, took some crazy bumps. But this match as well was physical, great use of the steel cage by both women as well, slamming people into the cage and whatnot. I thought those spots were great. To the spots where Jessamine Duke and Rhea Shafir came out to interfere, locking the cell door and taking out the referee, preventing Io from getting out, to Candice LeRae coming out again to helping out, taking out again one of the horsewomen she took out outside, I thought, and then Candice LeRae climbed to the top and did a crossbody to take out the other one inside the ring. Because there was 4 of them inside the ring out of the 5 women who were out there. And then, of course, that spot where Shayna's has like the door wide open to go exit, and Io is up at the dead top of the cage. Could have just jumped off there to escape, but instead she hits that freaking moonsault from the top of the steel cage. It reminded me of when, even though it was a much cleaner landing, it reminded me of in the steel cage match for the tag titles in 2014 between Cody Rhodes and Goldust against the New Age Outlaws, where Cody Rhodes did that moonsault off the top of the steel cage, and but of course he missed New Age Outlaws, and that's what led to New Age Outlaws to retain the tag titles. But that moonsault was just freaking sick by Io. I don't think I've ever seen a woman take an extreme risk like that. Besides, like an extreme, bump or anything, like Dakota Kai with that her arm getting smashed into the mat like it did last year, and both hers and Shayna Baszler's NXT debut still makes me cringe to this day. But that moonsault was just amazing. And then after that, it was basically just a chase to who would get out of the door first, and then of course once again, Shane McMahon defeating The Miz in a steel cage by slipping through his shirt was just corny. This was genius though. The genius of the Sky was the genius of the door. She was getting choked out, on the ropes with the Karafuda clutch, but with the littlest breath left inside her little body, grabs the steel cage door and starts slamming it on Shayna's face to get Shayna to break free. But unfortunately, as Io leans forward to try to get out of the steel cage, her momentum shifts Shayna to fall right over on top of her out of the steel cage for the unlucky loss. And of course, that leads to Io Shirai snapping, taking out all of her anger on her one and only friend she has had recently, Candice LeRae, and looking like she regret what she did, but then instead she just grabs the steel chair and snaps even more, kind of like a "this feels great" moment. And all she keeps saying is, "I don't need friends. I don't need friends." And she didn't care if the audience was booing her. And of course, apparently also Ms. Shirai, when she was in Japan or wherever she wrestled before she came to NXT, she was a heel most of the time, apparently, I heard. So she's actually, even though I thought she came across as, a great baby face, with just a natural, likable character, cute, great talent and whatnot, great smile and everything, she actually has a dark side to her, it seems like. I mean, I'm not sure. Again, as I said last night, they definitely have to, maybe change her theme, because I'm pretty sure the theme she has is not meant for a heel. It's meant for a hero. And maybe not make her look so cute. Maybe make her look, more, hot and dangerous, I gotta say. Like, go for that with Io. Make her hot and dangerous. But I definitely am very excited to see where this heel turn goes with Io Shirai. As I said, NXT definitely needed, like, another, mega heel, I feel. And although Bianca Belair is great, I still feel she's still a tweener. Like I could never tell. It seemed like she was going towards a babyface run whenever she was feuding with Shayna Baszler. Even though they had to make one of them, because I thought they were trying to establish a little more of a character with that. But ever since then, they've kind of kept her somewhat heel still too. So Bianca Belair, although great talent, I can't really consider her a top face or a top heel because she doesn't really have a clear direction. So they need like another, Shayna Baszler level heel basically. And it looked like they picked Io Shirai to be the one to accomplish that. And I definitely look forward to seeing what's next for Miss Shirai for sure. But yeah, this steel cage match last night was just amazing, especially that freaking moonsault and that heel turn was just amazing at the end. But that's why it is my number 5 on this list. Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, NXT Women's Championship steel cage match on the June 26, 2019 edition of NXT. Number 4 is a match that has definitely been overdone on the main roster. But even though I've seen it how many times, and I've only seen it for this match for the first time a month ago, watching this match did still feel special because I knew it was the beginning. Even though I said earlier there was a match that showed featuring, what's up to come from women's wrestling, this to me was the true beginning of the women's evolution. Charlotte versus Natalya at NXT Takeover 2014 for the vacated NXT Women's Championship. This is right after Paige had been called to the main roster. She won the Divas Championship in her main roster debut, defeating AJ Lee, her frenemy, eventually. Of course, until she turned on AJ Lee, and they kind of did like a little bit of a double turn there. And of course, Paige enjoyed, just skipping around to mock AJ Lee, even though, again, it couldn't help but love Paige. Of course, I loved AJ Lee, but I just fell in love with Paige instantly as soon as I first saw her face up on the main roster. NXT. Anyways, but this match with Charlotte and Natalya, we've seen it on the main roster. It's not had some of its good moments, such as, Charlotte's main roster debut was a little bit of like a treat. It was before they called her up full time on that segment for Battleground in 2016. No, 2015. I'm sorry. In 2015. But they had her have a match like a few months earlier where her and Natalya came up, and Natalya just kind of beat her unceremoniously. And, of course, they've had feuds such as, that Montreal Screwjob 2.0 at Payback in 2016. That was kind of lame. The submission match they had was all right. And then, of course, that messy feud they had in late 2017 when Natalya was the heel and Charlotte the babyface. Like, remember they had they had that one match, I think it was that Clash of Champions 2017, that lumberjack match, where it was so weird because that was at a time where they had just called up, so many women from NXT. That's when they began the Riot Squad. And of course, at the time, it was like there was like 80% of the women's division were heels, 20% were faces. It was just a very uneven balance. But this match, though, felt special. Not only was it crowning, the vacated NXT Women's title, it was the first time it was a collision between, a veteran in Natalya, who was from the Hart Foundation, and of course Bret Hart was at ringside against, the Flairs with Charlotte Flair, and her father Ric Flair at ringside as well. It was a great match, told an excellent story. It felt very special for sure. Of course, the respect at the end of the match between the two of them, even though Charlotte was still kind of coming across as still somewhat more heelish. Even though once again, she was kind of a heel until after her match with Bayley at I think it was Fatal 4-Way. I think it was the match. Yeah, I think it was NXT Takeover Fatal 4-Way. I think they shared a match with Bayley, where it kind of she started showing more of a babyface side, having a little bit of respect for Bayley, as of course the crowd did as well. But just special moment. It was the beginning of the true run for the Four Horsewomen making a difference. And of course Natalya as well, of course, who had definitely been overlooked several times as well, was of course getting some time at NXT as well. This was during a time where Natty kind of disappeared from main roster for some time, and then because remember there was that, well, actually it was like a year later where Paige was like, Natty, where are you? It's like when she first started her heel turn in 2015, when she turned on her PCB teammates. Well, that's right. They were supposed to be called the Submission Sorority, but they thought that sounded too weird. So they called them Team PCB. How lazy does that sound? And crap, what's with this now? But of course she says, I was like, Natty, you don't even work here anymore. Then backstage, Natty was there, and then she's basically been back on the main roster ever since. Like she's always been around ever since then. But yeah, definitely a well-respected match. A match I feel definitely gets lost in the shuffle because again they really watered it down. Haven't really had that great matches on the main roster between each other. But this match was still special. Respect also between the Flairs and the Hearts that was shown at the end after the match as well. When Charlotte won, and again to me it was the beginning of the Four Horsewomen making that statement that their goal was when they first came in. So Charlotte and Natty at TakeOver 2014 is my number 4 for my top 10 women's matches of all time. Number 3, Bayley versus Asuka at NXT TakeOver Dallas. Now, when I watched TakeOver Brooklyn 2 in my recent retro review series, I did kind of like their second match a little bit more than I did the first time. I did like the drama. I did like how, it did, show that, Bayley was much more prepared for Asuka this time, even though she was still, very tough to beat in this match as well. But I think this thing that still kills me a little bit is that finish. I still felt like, the way it was with Bayley fixing her hair, I felt like it had, they needed, one more hurrah with Bayley looking like she was going to beat Asuka. But then I feel like they just kind of cut it off really quick with that finish. I felt because of that, I still prefer the first match they had over the second one. This first match though was great, even though the storyline is Bayley's supposed to be a lot more prepared for the second match, which was kind of true. She still put on a great show, and still it wasn't like John Cena and Brock Lesnar, where obviously we knew Brock was probably going to win. This match, we figured that Asuka was probably going to win the title as well. But, of course, Asuka didn't squash Bayley. Brock completely squashed John Cena in 2014 at SummerSlam 2014, that is. But this match just showed that even though Bayley was an ultimate underdog taking on one of the toughest competition to date in Asuka, that, she was not going to go down easily. And the finish, the finish is the biggest difference why I like this match better than the second match they had. That finish with Bayley fighting with all her might to break out of that Asuka lock. So really feel for the character here. To really just solidify what exactly Bayley has been this whole entire time. We had that happen at TakeOver Brooklyn 1. But it was still playing in effect here. Bayley did not get pinned. She did not tap out. She passed out to the Asuka lock, showing a lot of fight and whatnot, just like somewhat reminiscent to the finish of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart. Now, of course, that match is better than this match. I would still say, but still, just the fact that literally again, Asuka had to literally submit every last breath out of Bayley, and that's literally what it took for her to beat Bayley. Which again, I like that. Which once again, why I like that finish better than they did at TakeOver Brooklyn 2. Yes, they probably couldn't completely repeat the finish, but I still felt they could have had maybe one more last hurrah for Bayley before she took the loss. But this was still an excellent match, great finish. Great way though to set up just to set up for the beginning of Asuka's 523-day reign as NXT Women's Champion. And that's why it is my number 3 for women's matches of all time in NXT. Number 2, Asuka versus Ember Moon for the NXT Women's Championship at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Whew! We all thought this was going to be the night that Asuka was going to suffer her first loss. We also thought that at TakeOver Orlando several months earlier, back in April 2017. Of course, Asuka would go on to continue to be undefeated until WrestleMania 34 when she lost to Charlotte Flair, tapping out. Which once again, still wasn't mad that Asuka lost then, but of course it's just been downhill forever since, unfortunately. And I think Charlotte basically put the nail in the coffin 2 weeks before WrestleMania this year when they just had her just drop the title to Charlotte. Even though it was a good match, they had Asuka lose and just cut everything off for Asuka. Now she's a Kabuki warrior. Anyways, but this story was great though between Asuka and Ember Moon. Obviously, the moment Ember Moon first debuted at TakeOver Brooklyn 2, you could tell this is probably going to be the woman who's definitely going to really push Asuka to the limit and probably dethrone Asuka. She just needed the time. When NXT TakeOver TakeOver Orlando came around, Ember beating everybody. She was ready, but obviously she had not really faced anyone as high of caliber as Asuka was. Because remember, keep in mind, that was when Asuka first started her title reign. That was right before the brand split came back. And if any division I felt lost a lot of depth in NXT, it was the women's divisions. They called up a lot of women definitely around that time from the Superstar Shakeup. The draft. They lost Nia Jax. Bayley eventually got called up. Alexa Bliss went up. Carmella went up. Eva Marie. I forgot. Eva Marie was selected in the draft, but of course, she got suspended for that violating the wellness policy, and then she never came back. Never came back. It just makes me think of the ending to that promo between Edge and Christian, and the Edge and Jericho for WrestleMania 26 spear. But anyways, So obviously, even though the depth was not there to complete, but Ember Moon up, like what happened at the end of their match at Orlando was meant to kind of give Ember Moon that little nudge to show she'll be even more ready for a second match they would have, which we thought was gonna have a takeover Chicago, but that did not happen. As again, Asuka at the time started reverting to some heel tactics, getting a little more cocky. Knew that Ember Moon was her toughest competition, tried to take her out of the picture until Ember Moon was healed up and they had the rematch at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. This match was awesome. The near falls, the close drama to Ember Moon hitting the Eclipse on Asuka. We all thought that was it right there. Asuka kicked out. And I was shocked beyond belief. And literally the question was there, solidified there. In NXT, nobody, and I repeat, nobody was ready for Asuka. Ember Moon may have came out of that match looking like she may have lost. She still came out of that match, though, looking like a winner. She felt like a champion because of the performance she had just put on. Like that was, a career-making moment. Like, Asuka, of course, would relinquish the championship like 2 or 3 weeks later, retiring from NXT undefeated before going up to the main roster. She did have to take a little brief break, though, because of an injury. But, of course, it's set for Ember Moon eventually to become champion in that vacated Fatal 4-Way, which is another honorable mention I got to say at TakeOver War Games 1 with Ember Moon, Peyton Royce, Nikki Cross, and Kairi Sane, because Kairi won an opportunity after she won the Mae Young Classic. But just this match was unbelievable. Close drama, obviously Asuka's best competition to date for sure, and Ember Moon's best match by far for sure. That match just amazing. Like, she showed that she was well prepared for that match. She did her homework. She didn't look like someone that was Asuka was easily going to put down, and that was not the case. Ember fired her best shots, yet it still was not enough to put down Asuka. Obviously, Asuka's final obstacle to prove she really is, who she was, the Empress of Tomorrow, undefeated, dominating champion for 523 days, however long her undefeated streak was. Well, how many wins she had in a row, and of course, she had been undefeated for about 2.5 years before losing her first match. Dang, no, this match is amazing. Again, this is a drama. Again, one of those matches that for sure had me sitting on the edge of my seat, like this and a few other matches in the other lists for this stream. But that's my number 2. Number 1, no doubt about it. Still, in my opinion, the best women's match of all time. In my opinion. Sasha Banks and Bayley TakeOver Brooklyn 1, NXT Women's Championship, and also leading to what I like to call the 4 Horsewoman curtain call in NXT. Again, I was not watching NXT full time when I saw this match. And I saw this match live because I did attend TakeOver Brooklyn and SummerSlam live that year when I went on a trip to New York. Unfortunately, though, I missed the first hour of this show live because, once again, stupid Megabus got stuck in traffic in Greensburg, which is, about an hour from where I live. So because of that, we got there like really late. Like we almost missed the show, but we got there in time for the second hour at least of the actual show, because that night they had the tapings for the following week's episode, that first hour, and then the second, and then from 9 to 11 it was an NXT. Of course, the show went a little over 11 o'clock, but didn't matter because this show was just so freaking awesome. With, of course, NXT making a statement, having their first show outside of Full Sail in like a bigger arena that can sell out a crowd. And again, this match was definitely match of the night, women's match of the year, one of the best, and maybe the best women's match of all time. Sasha Banks, just a beast as the heel champion. Bayley, that the ultimate underdog babyface that everybody would want to see have her moment, as even though not all of them have won the women's title, because Becky Lynch is the only one who never won the NXT Women's Championship. Becky still had her career making moment again at NXT Takeover Unstoppable. Now it was Bayley's turn to have that moment and solidify herself as the ultimate underdog that she was. She went away for a while with an injury. She came back and she was inspired to be a champion. She wanted to, beat the best. She beat Charlotte. She beat Becky Lynch. I think she had a couple matches against a couple other people as well. But it led to this match. And of course, recently Bayley had a problem with her hand or something like that. Sasha Banks attacked the hand. And literally, it may have looked like that Bayley may not have had a chance to win this match at all, like injuring Bayley. And of course, even when you watch the 24 special, seeing, Bayley's and Sasha's mothers in the crowd, just watch this match, just the drama going on with it, just, the trash talking to Sasha Banks, the obstacles Bayley was coming across. Like, it was pure storytelling with a true heel and a true purebred babyface just going out there and putting on one of the most dominating statement-making matches of all time with women's wrestling. Not only could, women wrestle, they could tell stories in the ring as well. And that's what this match exactly told. Bayley won, and it was, again, the culmination of, the rise to the top of the women's division. And after this match, of course, is when, since, three of them are already onto the main roster, well, Sasha Banks had some unfinished business to finish in NXT with the Iron Woman match they had. But Charlotte and Becky came down to hug Bayley to congratulate her. But Sasha, of course, joined in as well and hugged everybody. As I call this match, the four horsewoman of NXT curtain call for sure, to celebrating, hey, these women came in like a year or how many years ago, however long ago earlier, to make it. Sorry, my share was shifting down for some reason. To make a statement for women's wrestling. At the time, it was just a 30-second Divas matches. # give Divas a chance. This was a statement for sure that these four women had accomplished that with all the matches they have had against each other over the past year or so. And it was just a great celebration and just the perfect match to have this curtain call, as I always say. And that is my number one for NXT women's matches of all time. I'll go through the list one more time, check the live chat. Now we are doing men's or tag matches next. So let's look at the list again. For women, number 10 was Asuka and Emma at TakeOver London. Number 9 was Paige and Emma at NXT Arrival. Number 8 was Asuka and Nikki Cross, last woman standing on the June 28, 2017 episode of NXT. Number 7, Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch at TakeOver Unstoppable. Number 6 was Bayley and Sasha at TakeOver Respect. Main event, 30-minute Iron Man match. Number 5 was last night's main event of NXT, Shayna Baszler and Io Shirai inside the steel cage. I don't need friends. Number 4, Charlotte and Natty at NXT TakeOver 2014 for the vacated NXT Women's Championship. Number 3 was Bayley and Asuka at TakeOver Dallas. Number 2 was Asuka and Ember Moon at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. And number 1 was Sasha and Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn 1. Let's check the live chat and see what we got here. Let me see. Live chat. We've got men next, then tag team. Okay, thank you, Robbie. Triple H in charge for sure. Remember when WWE booked Eva Marie to join Team Total Divas at WrestleMania 32? Huh? Yeah, I remember it was like some Fallout segment where Brie Bella was mentioned how she didn't trust Eva Marie. But yeah, I don't know why they threw Eva Marie into that tag match. That was stupid. Emelina, huh? For sure. Let me say it again. Emelina, huh? Again, we forgot about that. Paige here. Speaking of Paige, wasn't she and her Kabuki Warriors supposed to face the Iconics on Tuesday? They were actually supposed to face each other. I think it's Friday because they're going to be in Tokyo on Friday. I think that's when they're going to be facing the Iconics to beat them to earn a tag title shot. Once again, champions losing clean, as it has happened how many times on SmackDown this week? Almost happened a third time, which I would have thrown in the towel for sure if that happened. No, I yet have not seen fight with my family. I still gotta see it. I still do want to see it for sure. Weird pairing, Santino and Emma for sure. Or oh god, Ember. I mean Ember and Nia. That would have been gay. Well, weird, but no, nothing wrong with gays again. But Enzo and Nia. Oh gosh, again, that was supposed to lead to Enzo cheating on Nia with Alexa Bliss, and again, it was probably just going to lead to just Nia to beat up Enzo at WrestleMania 34, which would have been absolutely stupid. But oh man, yeah, I forgot about that pairing. Don't remind me. Shayna and Kairi at Brooklyn 4 was great. The 4 Horsewomen Fatal 4-Way was great and really made me appreciate women's wrestling at NXT. Yes, that was definitely still great as well. Tyler calling out Vince saying he's stupid. Go join, don't take care of XFL only. Heyman Bischoff are going to take over the brand for sure, definitely. Even though it was part of the Mae Young Classic, I really enjoyed Kairi versus Bianca Belair because that was the match that made me a fan of Bianca. Oh, for sure. Of course, speaking of Mae Young Classic, and still my favorite match, I gotta say, from both Mae Young Classics was definitely last year, Toni Storm and Mako Satomura. Again, just an unbelievable match that one was. Made me an even bigger fan of Toni Storm. One of those matches that, if I really didn't know who Mako Satomura was back then, I definitely knew her now. I also, speaking of Kairi's hand, I also like Kairi's match she had with Tessa Blanchard, or however you pronounce the last name, at the first Mae Young Classic. Well, that's another honorable mention for sure there. But yeah, that was also a good match there with Kairi and Bianca also. I remember that one. Undefeated, or sometimes she's saying tit though when she says that. Nikki Cross, the coffee girl. Yeah, she's coffee girl and just whatnot. Alexa Bliss, the coffee queen. Yeah, because she, gets upset over falling on coffee. Men's and tag next. I'll do men's next, then the tag team next. If Triple H can still go when this happens, imagine him versus Ricochet in a marquee pay-per-view match. Robbie, pull up a Google Hangout at some point and write a story of that match. I would love to see, that I would definitely love to see that match. Triple H and Ricochet. Oh, man, yes. Before Trips retires, I want to see him wrestle Aleister Black. Yeah, that'd be good. Finn Balor. Oh, yeah. Teacher versus student for sure. Ricochet and Samoa Joe. Yes. I don't need friends. Hope Raw and SmackDown get better for sure. Remember when during Natty and Charlotte's main roster, when JBL would always mention the history between the Hearts and the Flairs? Yeah, every single time just like that, and every time Del Rio threw that stupid kick, that's the kick that got the championship. Or ball game, Boggle. Oh my god, I don't miss him. I don't miss the bully, John Bully Layfield. And nobody in NXT was ready for Asuka. That's a fact. But on the main roster, Carmella and James Ellsworth and James Ellsworth were, that match at Extreme Rules last year was terrible. I had to experience that live. Once again, the James Ellsworth pinata. Remember, Robbie? Well, Mike, I'm going to each hand you all a stick and we'll take a whack at a James Ellsworth pinata. Maybe we can contact Charlotte, see if we can borrow Ken No Stick, as she called it when she beat the crap out of Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series. Best and worst years, Tyler suggesting. We'll try it one time. Me playing SmackDown versus Raw 2007 is more fun than Raw and SmackDown. Oh, definitely. Yeah, we make it a lot more fun. Today's heels are bitches. And ball game. Again, I do not miss JBL at all in commentary. But I'll do men's matches next, then tag team. So let's move on to the men's top 10. No, again, we have this one, tag team, and then again, taking all three lists, and I'll mention which ones made the top 10 of all time. Number 10, first ever NXT pay-per-view match. NXT TakeOver Arrivals opening match, Sami Zayn and Cesaro. Wow, this was a great match. Of course, the first match I watched when I did my NXT NXT pay-per-view retro reviews. I can't say NXT TakeOver because it was not a takeover. This was just NXT Arrival. Match of the night by far at this pay-per-view. It was definitely a great show. This was the match of the night. This is around the time, of course, it was right before Cesaro started getting his singles push on the main roster. Well, started being a singles competitor again, because he was with the League of Nations. Thank goodness he wasn't with the League of Nations. He was with the Real Americans, him and Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter. This is when he was starting to pick up momentum. He had a great performance again. Remember, he had just recently also beaten Randy Orton on an episode of SmackDown when Randy Orton was like kind of going through the gauntlet facing each member he was facing inside the Elimination Chamber for 2014. And Cesaro, of course, was definitely having some, eye-catching moments around this time. And he was having a feud with Sami Zayn in NXT. Sami Zayn being the newcomer, but being booked as a proper babyface, losing strong, looking like, he had the match won. But he was just coming up short, feeling like, oh my goodness, he's about to get it, almost. Or he's still in it when you don't think he is in there. Once again, as I've mentioned how many times that Mustafa Ali mentioned in his interview on Talk is Jericho, mentioning how Vince told him one thing he noticed that Ali's very good at is, getting empathy from the crowd, like taking some of the nastiest bumps, like looking like, it's all done for him, but then he gets back up and he keeps going. And it looks like it takes a hell of a lot just to beat him. And that's exactly what this match had with Sami Zayn and Cesaro. Again, just putting over Cesaro still as definitely a dominant figure, but giving Sami Zayn that underdog feel of, this guy is meant to be a champion, but he just keeps coming up short. But not to the point where it's like we're going to give up on him. That's not how it felt. They didn't overdo it. That we wanted to completely give up on him. Of course, they kind of made that feel somewhat there whenever we get to a certain other match we'll talk about on this list. But it was just hard hitting. Some of the near falls. These styles again. This could have been a WrestleMania match. Like if they were having like an Intercontinental Championship, World Title match, even someday, this could easily be a WrestleMania caliber match for sure. For you getting for a mid card title, or even a World Championship match someday would be quite priceless. Of course, now Cesaro, is doing decent. Sami Zayn, the Craig of the Craigs, just all talking is eating pins in the ring, unfortunately. Just an amazing match. Like I definitely was really behind. Like this really even made me miss the old Sami Zayn even more. Like just after seeing how Sami's been booked ever since he came back, and now he's pretty much reduced to just about nothing since ever since he's come back from his injury. I was just like, man, I really miss this Sami Zayn. I really wish we had this Sami Zayn back. May never happen, but just I can at least look back on this match and appreciate the talent he has, and even Cesaro as well, showing how underrated, underutilized he's been used for sure in WWE. That's my number 10, though. Sami Zayn versus Cesaro, NXT Arrival. Number 9, another Sami Zayn match. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens at NXT TakeOver Arrival. This story was just great. With Sami Zayn being the ultimate underdog, finally getting to the top at TakeOver R Evolution. His best friend of how many years finally makes it to NXT and WWE, and just takes advantage of his longtime best friend to just swoop right past him and basically just like take his entire career away from him, basically. Turning on him after Sami's big title win at TakeOver R Evolution to this match with not only Kevin Owens taking away the NXT Championship, but literally 23 minutes of Sami Zayn fighting back, but Kevin Owens is beating every last breath out of Sami Zayn. Once again, showing that, not only did they make Sami Zayn look dominating with, having him literally have to take like so much pain in order to finally get the referee to stop the match, but making Kevin Owens look like a dominating, unstoppable monster in that ring, beating the ever-living crap out of Sami Zayn. It was unbelievable. Just, the story that they told there. And of course, Sami would suffer an injury that kind of played into, the next TakeOver Unstoppable, which I remember a lot of people saying, reading in the critics after I watched TakeOver Unstoppable again, people were a little concerned when that number one contenders match with Tyler Breeze and Finn Balor kicked off the show, because they were concerned that maybe Sami was not going to be able to go that, because Sami had just injured his shoulder in that match he had against John Cena in that U.S. Open Challenge match a couple weeks earlier. but it's playing well with Kevin Owens basically doing the same thing to Sami Zayn. Not as long of a match at Takeover Unstoppable, but still doing the same exact thing, just basically writing Sami off TV, just passing up Sami completely. Like Sami had been there, had worked so hard to get through that. Then it came Kevin Owens, and just that brief a time, he takes over Sami Zayn and goes to the main roster before Sami Zayn, which again fits in the storyline perfectly. Like once again, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa had that same feel. The loser couldn't go up to the main roster over the winner. Like they had to both be up on the main roster somehow at the same time. Made Tommaso Ciampa's neck injury a little bit worse. Then he had to miss one of the biggest matches, one of the biggest blow-offs, one of the biggest feuds of all time. Definitely. Of course, I don't know what they're going to do when Tommaso Ciampa could come back fully from injury. I mean, he was cleared for non-in-ring competition when he announced at Takeover 25. Sorry, I was just very thirsty. But I was trying to thought here. But yeah, still just that beautiful story, and just the fact that once again, Kevin Owens didn't even have to pin or submit Sami Zayn. He literally just had to just beat the ever-living piss out of him until the referees had to say, stop, enough. Just take this championship. You're obviously the better man here. Just stop, basically. And it was just unreal. Just an incredible story told from the moment Kevin Owens walked in the doors of NXT and just absolutely just pushed Sami Zayn to a side and just took the ball and just ran and left Sami Zayn in the dust. And that's why it's probably one of my best men's matches of all time at NXT at number 9. Number 8. All I gotta say is that maybe Goldie claims that you just aren't tough enough. NXT TakeOver War Games 2 last year had some really good matches. The War Games match, Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black, a classic that's definitely an honorable mention for this list. But I still personally kind of like this match just a little bit better than that. Tommaso Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship at NXT TakeOver War Games 2. Just an unreal match. Tommaso Ciampa, just in character, one of the best, for sure. One of the best heels ever booked. Has a microphone, says his plans, backs it all up, and accomplishes it all. And that's why he was so successful in his 230-some-day run with Goldie. Unfortunately, he really misses Goldie. He's like, Goldie, I'm coming back for you. He was saying at NXT TakeOver 25. I don't know if we will get a match with him and Adam Cole at some point. We'll have to wait and see. But, but this match was unreal. The brutality in the match, the near falls, the the work, just the character work in general, the storytelling with the mind games and everything. These two being masterminds of mind games. Kind of course, like Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream earlier. Like this is even Velveteen Dream on a whole other level in this match as well with the mind games with Aleister Black, with Tommaso Ciampa. And I still will not forget that one near fall. And I remember listening to the Lex interview, and he said this is one of the very few near falls that got him. Like he literally thought Velveteen Dream had this match won with this happen. They were outside brawling right by the announce table. Velveteen Dream hits a Dream Valley driver on Tommaso Ciampa onto the floor, throws Ciampa into the ring, hits his sick-looking purple Rainmaker, and somehow Ciampa still kicked out. Even my jaw dropped. Like I swore that was going to be it right there. I swore Velveteen Dream was going to win the championship right there, but it was not enough. As, of course, Ciampa would roll out of the ring, Dream would get in, try to brawl, but just like that, just like another match on this list, just like that, Tommaso Ciampa turns it around. He hits the draping DDT on like the steel in between the two rings, since of course there's two rings at War Games. In between the two rings, there was that steel. that Ciampa hit that draping DDT, and that's what Ciampa hit on Dream. That finally put Dream down for Ciampa to get the win. But it was just great storytelling, great, character work definitely in this match. Amazing near falls again, especially that one, the Dream Valley driver on the floor outside the ring into the Purple Rainmaker was not enough to put away the Sicilian psychopath. And just that alone, just how great this match was in general, definitely one of the best men's matches of all time. My number 8. And again, that match though with Aleister Black and Johnny Gargano still was another unbelievable classic. I forgive your sins. Black mask right across the jaw of Johnny Gargano. This is an unreal match there. But yes, Tommaso Ciampa though, Velveteen Dream, another classic as well, at my number 8 spot. Number 7, Ricochet versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT North American Championship at TakeOver Phoenix this past year. Amazing match. Amazing match between two high-flying cruiserweight style wrestlers, even though, once again, don't get ideas of putting these guys in the cruiserweight division anytime soon, Vince. I'm begging you. Put Johnny Gargano on SmackDown Live. His first feud should definitely be with Daniel Bryan. I still feel a Johnny Gargano, Daniel Bryan feud would be amazing if booked right, of course. But man, literally again, Johnny Gargano is like the Shawn Michaels of NXT. Literally can just, put on this classics no matter who he faces, what character he is. And this was in the midst of the time where Johnny Gargano was kind of at the dark side. And I feel he was like at the highest point of embracing the dark side, being Johnny Badass and the words of Velveteen Dream, Johnny Jackass, with this feud with Ricochet. So obviously, getting around this time, Gargano and Black were still kind of feuding. They had that steel cage match where Ciampa played the mind games with Gargano and got him to do the whole DIY finisher on Aleister inside the steel cage. After the win, Ciampa's like, I think Johnny deserves a little bit of reward. I mean, I already have a title, but maybe Johnny deserves a title. So maybe Johnny should go after Ricochet's NXT North American Championship. And Ricochet's like, yeah, I agree. Let's do this. And of course, this match was just great. Ricochet had not really, he had been beaten before, I think, by Adam Cole. No, it wasn't, not yet. Nail here. Ricochet was hadn't really not been beaten yet. I thought it was undefeated. I can't remember for sure if he was or not. But anyways, this match showed, Johnny Gargano fighting back and forth between, Johnny wrestling and Johnny Badass. And of course, just the high-flying styles, the near falls and whatnot that they were producing, to Johnny Gargano, and then finally, getting those close near falls, realized it's going to take a lot more to put Ricochet away, reverted to Tommaso Ciampa tactics, doing like some type of a backbuster or something like that onto the exposed concrete on the floor. Like he pulled up the mat on the floor and he slammed Ricochet into the concrete that led him to eventually hit the tornado DDT on Ricochet for him to get the win. Bunch of high flying, bunch of just great near falls and whatnot. Just them playing the mind games again to Ricochet always doing his big fancy high flying moves, looking like you can try to do this hurricane on me, but that does nothing to me basically. And Johnny's like, what the frick do I gotta do to put this guy down? Literally getting frustrated again and going to Tommaso Ciampa tactics again, becoming the thing he despised most, Tommaso Ciampa, and he turned into Tommaso Ciampa himself. And of course, this led to the end of this show. Gargano and Ciampa standing on the stage, holding up the championship, their championships, as DIY with singles titles had taken over NXT. Now, actually, it's basically a great honorable mention. I can't believe I didn't put this in the tag team list, but a great honorable mention for sure for either of these lists is the halftime heat match that we had this year with Ricochet, Velveteen Dream, and Aleister Black teaming up against Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. That was an amazing 6-man tag team match, going like all out in this match. It was amazing for sure. But yeah, Ricochet and Johnny Gargano at TakeOver Phoenix this year was amazing. Also, one more honorable mention I wanted to mention, because I was originally going to put this match on this list, but I completely forgot about another match I included on this list. Can't remember which one it was. But I also want to include the match between Aleister Black and Tommaso Ciampa last July, where Tommaso Ciampa first won the NXT Championship in just stunning fashion for sure. Well, of course, that's where kind of the beef with Gargano and Black started, whenever Gargano accidentally costed Aleister Black the NXT Championship. And of course, eventually a month later led to around the time when Aleister Black had to get like groin surgery anyways, and he missed that triple threat match that they were supposed to have at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4. But of course, it revealed to have the storyline where Johnny Gargano was the one who attacked Aleister Black. So that's an honorable mention. There was that match last year. Again, their match at TakeOver Phoenix year was all right, but I felt it could have been just a little bit better for sure. But it was definitely one of the weaker main events I've seen. Not the weakest, but not as good. I definitely hope so. Again, I still think the weakest main event in TakeOver history, I still say, is that match with Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre, TakeOver Brooklyn 3. It was all right, but it was not that great of a match. But anyways, number 6, getting back to Sami Zayn. Now, Adrian Neville has had a couple other great matches at TakeOver. Rival, I believe it was. Yeah, he had a great match with Finn Balor in the number 1 contenders match. That was spot on, amazing. But this match here, of course, he's involved with Adrian Neville, Sami Zayn, NXT Championship, NXT TakeOver R Evolution. Great match, amazing story. Adrian Neville, of course, became the NXT champion at the NXT Arrival earlier in 2014 in that ladder match against Bo Dallas. It did take some time for Adrian Neville to kind of win over the fans. And, of course, Sami Zayn was just the upcoming underdog that everybody just wanted to see him finally overcome all the odds. And NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way, it was Adrian Neville taking on Sami Zayn, longtime friends, Tyson Kidd, and Tyler Breeze in a great Fatal 4-Way match. That was so maybe the weakest, or at least one of the weakest takeovers for sure, but still a really great show. That was a really great main event. That main event, that Fatal 4-Way, was definitely awesome. I enjoyed it. And that storyline where it looked like that Sami Zayn was about to win the NXT Championship until Neville cost him the title. Somewhat turning a little bit heel in the process, but obviously Neville was starting to realize that Sami Zayn was the biggest threat to his NXT Championship. And kind of like, how it was with Ember Moon and Asuka. And the thing was, of course, though, they're playing back in the build of the story of how, Sami Zayn, a great performer, what's cost him his matches is him being charismatic and just, not, being a little more, a little sensitive and gullible and whatnot, and showing a little too much respect he feels. And I still like, in that hype video they have for this match, this segment where Sami Zayn basically says that he wants to put his NXT career on the line. Because as I said earlier, before we talked about him and Kevin Owens, you can make someone look strong in losses for so long. So obviously, it was probably to the point where it's like if Sami Zayn lost, it would really feel like he didn't belong. Storyline-wise, of course. So he literally was saying, if I can't win the NXT Championship this time, I am gone. And Adrian Neville's like, I'm not going to be responsible for costing you your career, but good luck. And he's like, no, you don't get it. I can't show the respect. Me being charismatic and being gullible and whatnot, it's what's been costing me my career. Not turning heel, of course, but to show a more aggressive side. And he even slapped Adrian Neville, his own friend. And again, this match is amazing. And then Sami Zayn would, and of course, there was a bunch of close near falls and whatnot, but Sami Zayn would end up winning the match and having that big long celebration, being the ultimate underdog that, I literally feel like the Kofi Kingston moment, basically, for sure, with him getting that big moment. And of course, this is for Kevin Owens to turn on him after the match and just, to surpass him. It's like all that hard work he had gotten to just for all that to happen. But it was still an amazing match, amazing storyline for sure, and just worked out very well. And that's why this match is my number 6 on this list. Number 5, my 2017 match of the year. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne for the United Kingdom Championship at NXT TakeOver Chicago 1. Unreal match this match was. They had literally had put on a great performance in the United Kingdom Championship tournament earlier that year. Tyler Bate, who had just turned 20 years old this time, Pete Dunne was only 23. Two really young guys is literally taking what they did at that tournament and going to a whole nother level with this style of wrestling at TakeOver Chicago 1. It was just unreal. Again, just, Pete Dunne, even though he's only like, 5'10", 205 pounds, wrestles like a heavyweight. Yes, he's agile, whatnot, but he's a strong looking brute. We have Tyler Bate, who, even though he's small, more so of a cruiserweight type wrestler, shows that he can literally wrestle any style. He meshes so well with everyone, whether it's a high flyer or a bigger man in big man match, a technical wrestler or whatnot. So some great counters, the airplanes stuff he did, Pete Dunne with his physical brutality. One of my favorite spots is when Dunne went to hit a bitter end on Tyler Bate, and Tyler Bate countered it though with like a hurricanrana or whatnot to knock him out of the ring. It was like a tope suicida, but it was, or just do one of those like corkscrew, like moonsaults or something like that. Just some great action overall. Just one of those matches where it's like, where several of these matches are on his list is gonna be like, if you didn't know who these people were before this match, you definitely have to know who they were now. I mean, Tyler Bate, of course, had been having some great title matches against like Trent Seven. He had one against Wolfgang. He had one against Gentleman Jack Gallagher on NXT. Defended the title quite a few times before he dropped it to Pete Dunne in this match. But of course, this was the win that got Pete Dunne started on his 685-day title reign as United Kingdom champion before dropping it to Walter this past year at TakeOver New York, which is also going to honorable mention for sure, because that was a great match, I thought, also. The first match between Walter and Pete Dunne. But just still amazing stuff. Really, selling British wrestling and whatnot, and just really making you a fan of both these guys. Just really appreciating, wrestling for sure. What cost both these young men went to in their match. And that is why it is my number 5 on this list. Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne at NXT TakeOver Chicago 1 for the United Kingdom Championship. Number 4. I still can't believe to what heights and what levels this feud went to. Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano for the NXT Championship at NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. As I keep saying, months earlier than this, you could not tell me these two were going to have a series of matches that was tying into already the beginning of one of the best, due to be one of the best long-term stories of all time. So Johnny Gargano and Andrade Cien Almas started feuding going into TakeOver Brooklyn 3. After, of course, the turn happened where Tommaso Ciampa turned on Johnny Gargano, and but then that's when Ciampa had that knee injury and he was away for a while. But this was, again, it was kind of like being in a relationship and breaking up, and the victim is trying to move on, like stay as far away from it as possible. But things keep happening. It keeps coming back to him. And that's what played into this feud. And, of course, what helped me also become a fan and respect Andrade Cien Almas a lot more. Until then, I didn't think that much of him. I mean, he came in as like a bland baby face. He turned heel, but then he didn't really have much of a direction, I felt. And he finally gained one really once he teamed up with Zelina Vega. And they had this feud that, again, was just literally just Andrade being just that kind of foil, being that extra thorn in Johnny Gargano's side. To Johnny, obviously, being an underdog status, but because of a kayfabe injury to the Velveteen Dream, Gargano was given an opportunity to eventually become number 1 contender, and he did. So I remember, as soon as I saw the writing on the wall for Andrade Cien Almas to have an NXT title match at TakeOver War Games 1, I'm like, Wouldn't it be something if Almas would win the title off of McIntyre? I felt like McIntyre didn't really need to do anything else to prove he was ready to go back to the main roster. Would be something that Almas won here. Gargano won a number one character spot, and then we have another match for the NXT Championship at TakeOver Philadelphia. And that's exactly what we got. Results weren't exactly what I hoped it'd be, but I didn't really expect this to be like an instant 5-star match of the year classic. This was a 5-star match of the year classic. I think it was like my number 3 match of the year, something like that, in 2018, I think it was. This was just unreal. You did not know who was going to win this match. The near falls, the drama, how many times these guys must have kicked out of finishers and whatnot, to Zelina Vega's involvement, to Candice LeRae making her NXT debut and coming in and interfering and taking out Zelina Vega. Just again, another match where it's like the underdog in this match literally had to get every single beaten out of him to win this match, which is what we've got recently also with Johnny Gargano's matches with Adam Cole. Honorable mentions as well. The 2 out of 3 falls match, was good, but I still say it didn't become as good as it was until that the quest of that third fall. And again, how many of like the last shots or how many of Adam Cole's finishers that Gargano kicked out of that. Even of course in the one they had TakeOver 25 was another 5-star classic for sure. Because of how many times, Gargano, Gargano had like 9 or 10 lives. Like, there's no easy way of putting away Johnny Gargano. And again, that was established once again in this match here. Just great stuff. Just so great stuff. Great storytelling. And just amazing. Like a match that you couldn't tell me months ago would be a 5-star classic headlining a pay-per-view. And of course, when I met Andrade Cien Almas at TakeOver at WrestleMania Access this year, I told him, hey, you and Gargano had a classic at Philly last year, and he was very thankful. Of course, I told him that. But yes, amazing match. My number 4 for best NXT matches of all time. Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano at NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. Number 3, NXT TakeOver New Orleans, which may be the best NXT TakeOver of all time. Opened up with this amazing 6-man ladder match for the debuting NXT North American Championship between some of the best upcoming and new talent. The people in this match, it was a ladder match, were Adam Cole, Lars Sullivan, Killian Dane, Velveteen Dream, EC3, and Ricochet. May I say, anytime NXT superstars have been given a ladder, they have really taken the ball and run with it. Whether it was this match or Owens and Balor at TakeOver Brooklyn 1, or just recently we had, or I'm sorry, another match to forget about, the ladder match TakeOver Chicago 1 with DIY and the Authors of Pain, to just recently that Fatal 4-Way Tag match TakeOver 25. Like, any time a ladder has been given, anybody in NXT is just knocked out of the ballpark. Neville and Bo Dallas had a great ladder match as well at NXT Arrival. This was just amazing stuff. It's such good shit. Yes, this was good shit. These 6 just went out there and put on a classic. Lars Sullivan came out looking like a monster. Killian Dane with his multitasking, he'll do like a drop kick in the corner and at the same time doing like a senton on top of somebody else. To Velveteen Dream taking his crazy ass spots. Adam Cole was being amazing. EC3 looking great in his debut, and Ricochet doing his amazing flips and his amazing agility, showing off, and just really, again, like guys like that, like EC3 and Ricochet, who were having their first in-ring matches at NXT, we're showing them. If you don't know who these guys are, you know them now, basically. Of course, Ricochet would have a great 1-year run at NXT. EC3, not so much, as we all know where he is now, unfortunately. Just just not into it at all. But man, this was just amazing. The use of the ladders, like the ladder spots, was just awesome. It was brutal. Any of these 6 men could have won that title. If nobody felt like they were just just a filler spot in this match. Anyone again could have won this for sure. And wait, hold on. I need to answer this text. Hang on. This is from my sister. But yeah, it was just amazing. And the opening match, just an unbelievable show. Number 3 is the NXT North American Championship ladder match between Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream, Lars Sullivan, Killian Dane, EC3, and Ricochet. The opening match for Takeover. For Takeover New Orleans. Sorry, just trying to make plans for tomorrow. While my sister, but yes, that's my number 3. Number 2, literally the legitimate definition of swan song, passing of the torch. NXT Takeover Dallas. Another one, I gotta say, maybe top 3 for best takeovers of all time. Just an amazing show. NXT Takeover Dallas again literally blew WrestleMania 32 out of the water. This was the true WrestleMania of that weekend. Nothing though topped off. Well, the women's match at WrestleMania 32 was amazing, but nothing topped off this match. Shinsuke Nakamura making his NXT debut, taking on Sami Zayn in his final NXT match. Just a classic. An amazing classic. Sami Zayn, who had not been on NXT TakeOver in like almost a year, because he was out with that shoulder injury after NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. And he just put on just an amazing show. It was definitely emotional, as it was, Sami Zayn had been through an amazing journey in NXT, telling that great underdog story. Now passing the torch on to the next big megastar for sure in NXT, Shinsuke Nakamura, who is a god in Japan. And he was instantly labeled as a god through this match at NXT TakeOver Dallas. It was just amazing. The near falls in this match, this mixture of styles, the mind games, the crowd was just hot. And these two just worked so well together, with Sami Zayn again getting ready to leave NXT, Nakamura coming in, literally just, like, hey, let's knock it out of the park. Let's get you going as I take off, basically. Just one of those matches that really make you appreciate wrestling. The respect shown between these two. It was just amazing stuff. It was just amazing story. Again, literally Sami Zayn could not have looked any stronger in this loss. I mean, whether if he faced Cesaro or, he in that fatal 4-way, a TakeOver fatal 4-way against Kevin Owens, against Tyler Breeze also. I remember he had a match against him. Any match he's had and that he lost, he looked strong. But I don't think he looked any stronger than he did in this match for sure with that loss. Just reminding, hey, I may have been gone for a while. I may be heading up to the main roster. I still got it, guys. And this is just me putting one more big hurrah to say thank you for everything you've done for me down here in NXT. But now, I'm putting over and just telling you how good this man is across from me. And, he's the future of this brand. And, of course, Nakamura was, as he tore through the division and eventually won the NXT Championship a couple months later at TakeOver Brooklyn 2. But just an unbelievable match for sure, at one of the best NXT shows of all time. NXT TakeOver Dallas's Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn. Just unbelievable. And my number 2 men's match of all time in NXT. Number 1. Obviously, these two, in NXT, not including their Cruiserweight Classic match, had just classics. With their last man standing match, Takeover Brooklyn 4 being probably the weakest out of all of them, still a classic. Their Takeover New Orleans match, classic, emotional roller coaster ride. Still my favorite match between these two, which is my number 1 men's match in NXT history. Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa in the Chicago Street Fight at TakeOver Chicago 2 last year. I kept saying these two had to have a match in Chicago because that is right where this whole thing began. And of course, at TakeOver New Orleans, in that match, it was the emotional story. Now, of course, actually, originally this match in Chicago with Gargano and Ciampa was supposed to be last man standing. But since Money in the Bank that weekend had a last man standing match with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, they changed this to a Chicago Street Fight, and they had the last man standing match to take over Brooklyn 4 after Aleister Black went down with the injury. But man, why do I like this match more though than the emotional roller coaster ride of a non-sanctioned match that we had at TakeOver New Orleans? Well, this one was still brutal. It was a little more fast paced than their match in New Orleans. But what I really appreciate about this is this match took this feud to a whole nother level that would cause us to have, great storytelling for another whole year based off of what this match slowly did. So again, they're in the ring using weapons left and right, beating the hell out of each other. They came out, they didn't even, of course, before the match, Candice LeRae comes walking up to her husband and hands him half of a crutch, since one of Tommaso Ciampa's main weapons at Benson's coming back was a crutch on Gargano. And Candice, as cute and youngish, as cute and innocent as she is, she just says, "Kick his ass." And it was like, whoa, shit, where is this coming from? And they go out. They didn't even, take just their shirts off or anything in their wrestling. I mean, they were in wrestling gear, but it was literally, appearance-wise, it was a street fight. It was a flat-out street fight, with their appearance and whatnot. Brawl all over the ring. Great use of weapons, tables, chairs, kendo sticks, garbage cans. But my favorite moment of this match was still when they were fighting up the ramp. And Ciampa's just jawing at Gargano, saying, we were friends, right? Yeah, we were friends. Well, remember when this happens? And they literally start reenacting the turn from the year before. I'm like, this is exactly what needed to happen. Exactly what I wanted to see happen. But even though he had slammed Johnny into that stage again, Johnny still got up and he beat the hell out of Ciampa. And this time, Johnny sent Ciampa through the table. But right before that was a big turning point in this feud. Tommaso Ciampa pulled off Johnny Gargano's wedding ring, spit on it, and threw it into the crowd, which caused Johnny to somewhat snap, leading to him to slam Ciampa through the table, to the point where Ciampa was about to be taken out on a stretcher. But this whole time, you can see Johnny just sitting there, just thinking I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he did that. He went as far as spitting on my wedding ring, and literally just sending him to a crazy stage where he wanted to literally kill him. He wanted to just literally end Tommaso Ciampa. He didn't want him leaving this place on a stretcher. He wanted to basically dig Tommaso Ciampa's grave. He would go back over and literally would start to become exactly what he despised most, Tommaso Ciampa. Beat even more of the shit out of Ciampa, handcuffing him He handcuffed Tommaso Ciampa and just started just whacking him around. He was some pinata. Literally just he was some type of soccer ball. It was like kicking him around, like punching him for everything he has done to him. Of course, the referee's trying to get him to settle down a little bit. He's about to climb back into the ring. And then this is where Johnny just went boom downhill big time. Down the path to Johnny failure. Handcuffed, Tommaso Ciampa quickly wraps his arms around Johnny Gargano's neck, DDTs him onto an exposed wooden floor in the ring, and despite being handcuffed, Tommaso Ciampa turns the tables and beats Johnny Gargano. Literally, from the moment of that Johnny snapping, beating the shit out of Ciampa for throwing his wedding ring in, to then, it getting to the best of him, Gargano once again becoming exactly what he despises, costing him the match, and just sending Tommaso Ciampa onto the ride of his life to Goldie and just dominating the NXT division, literally once again becoming the most dangerous SOB he promised to be when he returned from injury. Literally, if it wasn't for the storytelling in this match, this feud would not have been able to extend a year longer like it did. And it's a shame, again, we didn't get the finish to it we wanted to. But once again, just shows in some ways you can tell a great, compelling story thanks to this match right here. That is why out of all the Gargano and Ciampa matches, this one was my favorite. And that's why it is my number one men's match of all time. Oh, man. Wow, about an hour and a half in, I'd say, guys. We still have, tag matches and then the all-time, which all-time is basically going to tell me, I was going to say which ones I just did. I'm not going to talk about them all again, but we have the tag matches still. But let's check the live chat first. Let me see here. SmackDown versus Raw in 07 is the king of video games. SmackDown has come the pain is the second of video games. Sammy's a stupid jobber for the main eventers. I like the WCW War Games. Put Stone Cold on the Raw commentary team, which would be nice. AJ and Daniel at the Rumble should have been a street fight with AJ win a title. Gargano and Black War Games is incredible, hard hitting. Ciampa and Dream, I think, is safe to say is a hidden gem for sure. Daniel does the worst crossface, and Benoit does the best one, he thinks. And of course, as Robbie likes to say, as always, Sammy, it's good to see you again, buddy. It's good to always see you guys as well. I need a little bit of feeling. I'm starting to get tired. I got bro this morning to go to the dentist, and I took like a 2-hour nap. But of course, when I did that, it was storming while I was sleeping, but the humidity was up big time. Damn, it was so hot in my bedroom. I woke up sweating. But yeah, I'm definitely getting very tired. But I'm going to still fight through and continue to stream talking about the tag matches and then the all-time best ones out of all the matches we've talked about. So one more top 10, well, 2 more top 10 lists. We're halfway home. Next one is the tag matches. We have had some really good tag team wrestling matches for sure at NXT. Even though, once again, as I said earlier, tag team wrestling in NXT was one of the weakest things, was probably the weakest, part of the brand at the beginning. But then some other teams came along, especially, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, was definitely the pinnacle, the true beginning of tag team wrestling at NXT, I felt for sure. We've had teams like The Revival, Enzo and Cass, American Alpha, Authors of Pain, DIY, Undisputed Era, Street Profits, recently The Forgotten Sons, and Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, the Brit Arm Brawlers. Sanity as well. Can't forget about them. We've had some really great tag teams over the past few years. Let's go back and talk about some of those tag matches. I need to scroll down to the bottom of this list first to be able to tell you those tag matches. Here we go. All right. Number 10, The Revival versus American Alpha. at NXT TakeOver Dallas for the NXT Tag Team Championships. These two also had a pretty good match also at NXT TakeOver the end. Still like this match a little bit better. Obviously, of course, the Revival, American Alpha were definitely due to be called to the main roster soon. They were the more athletically talented, team. Where Revival, again, has always been, a simple, more old school philosophy tag team of no flips, just fists. Always putting them over again in NXT for their great psychology. And that even though, they're bad guys, they cheat to win, they still look like some of the most intelligent men, when they cheat. Like they cheat, but they're great at outsmarting. They don't just just too typical, cheating that gets you visual white heat and gives you the get off my TV heat that basically Baron Corbin has right now on the main roster and somewhat Lacey Evans. Well, Lacey Evans gets more so you're not ready heat, go away and get better first before you're getting what the push you're getting. But anyways, just appreciate that as well. Obviously, I still think, again, I was fine with giving, American Alpha, that brief tag title run that they definitely deserve to have for up to the main roster. The Revival, though, needed a little bit more time in NXT, but this is still a match that's shown how great both these tag teams were. Again, even though, the Revival were getting, great at outsmarting everybody, Jordan and Gable were just, again, super over at the time and just athletically gifted, talented that, could not be overlooked for sure. But that is why, of course, that list made my list at number 10. Just, great tag team match, especially the kickoff NXT TakeOver Dallas. Wait, was this the first match of the show? I think it was. Yeah, I think this was the first match of NXT TakeOver. It was this match, then Corbin and Aries, and then Nakamura and Sammy, and then the women in the main event. But it's a great tag team match. Definitely one of the best matches out of American Alpha as well. And yep, it's where American Alpha won the tag titles. That's my number 10. Number 9 from NXT TakeOver War Games 2 is the War Games match here. Now, I kind of like the first War Games match a little bit better than this one. But this was still a great match. But this match featured all 4 members of Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong taking on a team of War Raiders, Hanson and Rowe, before they were Viking Experience, Viking Raiders, Ivar and Eric. So basically pissed off they changed their names. War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne. I think what hurt this match a little bit for me was Pete Dunne wrestled this match injured. So he was a little bit limited in this match, which is henceforth reasons why they kind of wrote the story in a way where they kind of made sure Dunne was still locked in the cage even after it was time for him to come out, just for the Undisputed Era to have the advantage a little bit longer over top of the babyface tag team. But I still thought this was great. There usually is someone who stands out to be the most in this match, even though Ricochet had the spot of this match with that double moonsault off of the top of the cage, which was still amazing. I don't know how the hell he did that. I still think like in War Games 1, it was Killian Dane. Hanson, I thought, of War Raiders, now Ivar. He was the star in this match, I thought, with the agility and the hard-hitting motions he had in this match. Again, when all 4 of these guys got into the ring with the use of weapons was amazing. Of course, Undisputed Era, of course, winning the advantage of since the year before it was 3 teams. This year was only 2. They won the advantage of having the first being the first team to have someone else enter the match. But again, the use of weapons, the hard hitting, the agility again of Hanson, just the double teaming of everyone in this match. Of course, I like the part also where all 8 of these guys had a stare down and started brawling in the middle of the cage and whatnot. And again, of course, like I said before, that spot with Ricochet doing that double moonsault off of the top of the off the top of the cage to land to everyone else. It was just still unbelievable. Again, I think what would make this match a little bit better is if Pete Dunne wasn't as limited, but still a great match, a great War Games match, and I look forward to definitely seeing what they do this year with War Games as well. Probably going to involve the Era again, which that's fine because honestly, it seems like Undisputed Era and War Games seem like, they're trying to tell a story that War Games is the Undisputed Era's match. And they're one with it so far. I still gotta agree with that. But number 9 is the second War Games match in NXT history. Again, between Undisputed Era, War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne at NXT TakeOver War Games 2. Number 8, Undisputed Era's, well, at the time, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole taking on Akam and Rezar, the Authors of Pain, versus a team of Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne in the triple threat match for the NXT Tag Team Championship and the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals at NXT TakeOver New Orleans. Now, the only thing about this match that kind of bothered me a little bit, the fact that it was weird that, yes, the winner of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic got a tag title shot at TakeOver New Orleans. That makes sense to me. But the fact that Undisputed Era interfered in the match in the finals led to this being a triple threat match with the Dusty Cup being on the line also. But even though they're the tag champions, why did Undisputed Era, earn a right to be competing for the Dusty Cup if they weren't in the tournament? That was a little strange to me, I thought. But anyways, besides that, this match was still great. Obviously, the story here looked like that, Undisputed Era was in danger of losing the tag titles. It became pretty obvious to me that they weren't, but they threw the big curveball in here. Because the thing about this match, though, is Adam Cole had wrestled in that ladder match earlier in the night. But this is also around the time when Bobby Fish had suffered that knee injury. So Adam Cole had pulled double duty. So they kind of wrote it in a way. It looked like Adam Cole got taken out of the match. And Kyle O'Reilly was going at it alone for most of the time. And but then they were working again with Authors of Pain, and I think towards the end of the match, Pete Dunne hit the bitter end. I think it was on Kyle O'Reilly. I can't remember for sure. I think it was him. I don't think he hit it on any of the Authors of Pain. The Authors of Pain at this point were out of the match. But the shocker, the curveball here, after Pete Dunne hit the bitter end, and I'm like, they're going to give the titles to Dunne and Strong. Like, what the hell's going on here? Wow, I didn't think, the Era would be dropping the tag titles yet. All of a sudden, bam! The pinfall gets broken up as I kind of expected it would be, because I didn't think that Dunne and Strong were winning it. But it was breaking up by Dunne's tag team partner, Roderick Strong. I'm like, what? And Strong would then hit, I think, I get a version of the bitter end, or I get an end of hard camera, one of the two, and he would then roll Kyle O'Reilly on top of Pete Dunne, and Undisputed Era retained the tag titles thanks to help from Roderick Strong, who turns heel and joins the Undisputed Era. So not only did they retain the tag titles, they won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic despite not being in the tournament. They gained Roderick Strong, have a fourth member of Undisputed Era. Now, I still wonder to this day, was this the plan all along before Bobby Fish got hurt? I mean, it could have been just to give Roderick Strong something else to do, but if not, Strong might have gone up to the main roster and maybe gone to the cruiser division, maybe, because he had a great run right before this in the Cruiserweight Championship tournament, and he got to the Final Four. And again, what was interesting though about that tournament, though, around the time, in between TakeOver Philadelphia and TakeOver New Orleans, he kind of started showing a little more of an edge to him, a little more of a heel side, but not being a 100% heel. But he kind of showed a little more of a heel side in his matches. And then when he did this, I'm like, so again, I've still wondered to this day, was this the plan all along before Bobby Fish got hurt? I've never actually done any research to see if that was the case, but yeah, this match was still great. I feel like it's a lot more known because of that shocker with Roddy turning on Pete Dunne, and Roderick Strong again joins the Undisputed Era. But that's why it is my My number 8 for best tag team matches in NXT, the triple threat match for both the tag titles and the Dusty Tag Team Classic in New Orleans between Undisputed Era's Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole versus the Office of Pain versus Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. Excuse me. Number 7 is the first War Games match. Sanity versus Undisputed Era versus the team of Authors of Pain and Roderick Strong. In the first ever NXT War Games match at NXT TakeOver War Games 1 in 2017. Again, I think I like this match a little bit better because, again, War Games 2, it was great, but I think what limited that match a little bit was Pete Dunne's injury. This match, though, had these 3 teams who have been going at it since TakeOver Brooklyn 3, when Sanity and Authors of Pain took on each other and put on a surprisingly, this honorable mention, a very underrated tag team match that I thought was very well done by both teams. And of course, after the match was when Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish appeared as a tag team for the first time, and literally, despite the fact that they were literally in like a 5-on-2, maybe somewhat of like a 6-on-2, disadvantage with including Nikki Cross. These two literally took out like 5 of the largest, well, not all of them, like maybe I'd say except for like, Eric Young. Because Eric Young was not really one of the biggest guys out there, but 5 or 4 of the largest size superstars for sure. And they looked dominating. Of course, later that night, they took out Drew McIntyre after he won the NXT title when Adam Cole debuted to begin the Undisputed Era. So obviously, the brutality was in there with Authors of Pain, Roderick Strong by the side to give him something else to do. He just came out with a strong, feud with Bobby Roode, and he also had a really good championship match against Drew McIntyre on NXT TV, like shortly after that as well. To give him a match, have him teamed up with the Authors of Pain. But having Sandy, of course, who won the tag titles, coming in looking dominating as well. And then, of course, this match also was really meant to put over the Undisputed Era, as they had just came in, set the bar for them high, acted like, hey, we're the new guys here, but we're going to change how things are run around here. And once again, as I said, NXT is a place I am not afraid at all for them to set the bar high for. And they will not just, successfully hit those expectations, but they also will, exceed those expectations as well. As again, this match is brutal. Well, the true star of this match, I still say, was Killian Dane. Dane, of course, at the end was like just using, the weapons well. He was like multitasking again, like he would do, like his drop kick in the corner while also landing someone else with like a senton. Just some amazing spots. Like it was physical, it was brutal, and it was also a great way to put over the Undisputed Era in their first pay-per-view match. Which is why, of course, I enjoy this match. It's a little bit more than the second War Games match, but it's still amazing. And that's why it is my number 7 on this list. Sanity versus Undisputed Era versus Roderick Strong and the Office of Pain in the War Games match at NXT TakeOver War Games 1. Number 6, my tag team match of the year last year. Undisputed Era versus Mustache Mountain NXT Tag Team Championships on the July 11th, 2018 edition of NXT. Not just we had great tag team wrestling, we had some amazing storytelling in this match as well. With a little bit of like a really, I shouldn't say emotional, but, really, gut-wrenching moment. So what happened with this match? So this match came about because Mustache Mountain had briefly dethroned the Undisputed Era for the NXT tag titles during the number 1 contenders tournament for the next contender for the United Kingdom Championship, right before, of course, NXT UK became a thing. At Royal Albert Hall, Mustache Mountain had a moment for the Englishmen and won the NXT tag titles, set up for, of course, a rematch down the line between these two on the July 11th episode of NXT, which of course was definitely an amazing day for me because that was the day, of course, my sister showed up last summer, like a couple days earlier than we knew so, and she surprised us, which was awesome to see. But anyways, to also see this match as well, I was so into this match. And the main reason why, the storytelling by Trent Seven. I was already a Tyler Bate fan. This made me a fan of Trent Seven. Even though, of course, it didn't end well for him. So during this match, Trent Seven tweaks his knee, which they had played into effect for, future matches, beyond this until, it was obvious that, he was all healed up and whatnot. But, man, so Trent Seven tweaked his knee. And throughout the rest of the match, even though, he tagged in Tyler Bate, but Bate was tagged out as, Bate's trying to handle this, but Trent's like, I got this. I can do this. I got this. I'm going to handle this. I'm going to win this for us. When Tyler Bate was down and he needed, time out of the ring, Trent got back in, he fought hard. But the era continued. And this is that time where, even though, at the beginning, at times the Undisputed Era was cheating to win matches, they still were, coming off, like Revival, strong and intelligent. But this is where they were starting to even win matches clean also, too, and looking like dominating badasses. They were attacking the hell out of Trent Seven's knee, putting him in so much pain. And, like, putting Mustache Mountain in that moment of truth, like, what matters more to me, being champion or, the sake of my friend's health. And that's what it went there, as Tyler Bate went as far as grabbing the towel and, resisting to throw it in. He didn't want to lose the tag titles to his team, but he wanted to show his loyalty to his good friend, longtime, training partner, Trent Seven. And after minutes of Trent Seven fighting through the pain, agonizing, Tyler Bate threw in the towel to give NXT UK, to give the Undisputed Era the tag titles back for their second title reign as tag champions. But it definitely showed that even though again Tyler Bate did that out of the case of Trent Seven's health, it showed that Trent Seven was a dominating underdog badass as well. And he still is to this day. Of course, they do have a match for the NXT United Kingdom tag titles next week. But it was just still a great match. Very well, appreciated, and definitely just overall great stuff and great storytelling, especially again from Trent Seven's point in this match, which is why that was my tag match of the year last year, but still unbelievable. So my number 6 for NXT tag team matches of all time was Undisputed Era and Mustache Mountain on the July 11th edition of NXT for the NXT tag titles. Number 5, the War Raiders versus the Undisputed Era for the tag titles at NXT TakeOver Phoenix this year. Obviously, the War Raiders were definitely set to be the people who were going to eventually dethrone the Undisputed Era, and that's so what happened. This was great. This was physical. It was brutal. But once again, even though they were heels, they weren't freaking cowards. They went out there, Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, and still put on a great dominating performance against the War Raiders. But even though they look great, War Raiders look even more like bigger monsters, being undefeated, just running roughshod through everybody. Like, they could have had a rematch between these two teams. TLC. War Raiders without Viking Raiders, Undisputed Era, kick-ass match. It would be amazing for sure. Like, the stuff they did in this match, like, you could imagine putting this in a TLC match. Like, it would have been, it was a hot opener for TakeOver Phoenix in the hot sun, of course, ironically. And to me, it was probably the War Raiders' best performance in NXT, I gotta say as well, as they dethroned the Undisputed Era. And of course, would eventually again get a name change, get called to the main roster sooner than expected, and retire from NXT undefeated and relinquish the tag titles like they did. But yep, Undisputed Era and War Raiders is my number 5 for tag matches of all time. Let's get to number 4, which speaking of, fake relinquishing the tag titles, let's talk about the match that got the people who did become tag team champions after them. Just happened almost like about a few weeks ago. Undisputed Era's Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish versus the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins, Montez Ford versus Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake of the Forgotten Sons versus the Brit Arm Brawlers, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch in a fatal 4-way ladder match for the vacated NXT Tag Team Champions at NXT TakeOver 25. Remember how earlier I said how, the ladder has been used very well in NXT, even in that 6-man tag team match. And of course, how, even like the past 2 years in the women's Money in the Bank ladder matches, the women didn't play it as safe, that they were going all out. That's even like bigger in this match. Some of the bumps, the stunts people took in this match for sure. Just, the double teaming up and whatnot. Just again, people were brutal with these ladders. Kyle O'Reilly especially took some of the nastiest bumps in this match that makes me wonder, how the hell did he not die in this match? Kyle O'Reilly, I want to go back and watch the match again. Took some, literally the craziest bumps that you couldn't even imagine. Montez Ford leaped over a ladder to do a splash or take someone out, like he did towards the end of the match. Lorcan and Burch, teamed up. To the part when Jackson Riker interfered and ran roughshod on everyone. And everyone except for the Forgotten Sons, just all 6-man teamed up on Riker, slammed the hell out of him with a ladder. Even the Forgotten Sons, who people have never really appreciated that much, even looked amazing in this match. Lorcan and Burch, who we feel could be just stuck in NXT or, a 205 Live NXT UK and not really be anything bigger than that, they still, will look amazing in this match, worthy of being in contention for the NXT tag titles. Of course, that even, earlier as last year at TakeOver Chicago too, they had a great opening match against Undisputed Era, I thought. But just all around just great stuff. Amazing moves on the ladders again. And the bumps too. Some people must have came out of this match, lucky to still be alive. Especially Kyle O'Reilly for sure with the bumps he took. But of course, this eventually led to, the Street Profits winning the tag titles and on the current run that they are now. And that is why this match is my number 4 for tag matches of all time. Undisputed Era versus the Street Profits versus Forgotten Sons versus the Brit Arm Brawlers in the ladder match for the tag titles at TakeOver 25. Number 3. This is a big one because this one main evented a pay-per-view. Besides the War Games matches, this is the only NXT tag team match to main event a pay-per-view. It is DIY's Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa versus the Authors of Pain in the ladder match for the tag titles at NXT TakeOver Chicago 1. Man, the drama involved in this whole night. We were suspecting the turn to happen tonight. But NXT did a great job in getting us to believe that that may not happen. First off, remember, Tommaso Ciampa was injured. Tommaso Ciampa wrestled with a bad knee in this match. He had just injured it the previous Thursday on a house show. And he still wrestled this match. And of course, during this time, within the couple of days before the pay-per-view, they were coming up with people were, pitching ideas for, dream partners to replace Ciampa. Of course, most of them were saying, what if Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole teamed up? Of course, this is around the time when circulating that Adam Cole was considering going to WWE or NXT. But Ciampa came out and they still wrestled, just did some crazy stunts as usual. Again, as I've always put over Authors of Pain for basically having everyone they wrestle, they make them look like dominating monsters, but in return, they also their opponents look like legitimate tag teams that could hang with them in the long run. as they did with DIY and the Revival and Sanity and well, for the most part, I remember the match that Undisputed Era and AOP had at Takeover Philly was all right, could have been a little bit better, but point is, despite being big monsters, they still made their opponents look great, and their opponents made them look like dominating monsters as well. And that was the case as well in this ladder match. The same story told there. To that one moment, I still will not forget. I'm like, if the moment happens tonight, you really gotta look back at this moment and really think about this. Tommaso Ciampa was about to get slammed in the face of the ladder by one of the members of the Office of Pain. When Johnny Gargano pushed him away and he took the bullet for him instead. And then eventually, after some great, ladder stunts and almost win the tag titles, they got knocked off into the Super Collider and whatnot. And AOP retained the tag titles. To happen after the match, it looked like DIY was getting a standing ovation. Like this could have been like a swan song. Like, is that just a standing ovation, or does this could DIY be over to the main roster, or like what's next with DIY basically? And they're on the stage acknowledging their fans and whatnot because of all the hard work they have gone through from the bottom, working their way up to the top, which we'll talk about in another matchup coming on this list, to seeing Tommaso Ciampa saying something to Johnny Gargano, which I found out later. He said, "This wasn't our moment. It's mine." And then that brief second, Gargano's like, huh? And then you think about it too, the only time they ever done this on an NXT show or any pay-per-view I can remember before this time was at TakeOver Our Evolution when Kevin Owens attacked Sami Zayn. They showed a little, trademark graphic in the corner thinking this is going to be it. They're about to turn off in a second. And then boom, something else happens. Like, wait a minute. And that's what happened here as Tommaso Ciampa turned on Johnny Gargano, slamming him into the stage and just beating the crap out of him, hitting some running knees on him and whatnot. And the whole time Gargano's like, wait, what the hell's happening here? Like, what's going on here? And Tommaso Ciampa would slam Johnny to the table. And of course, 2 weeks later, mentioned how, he was offended because the fans turned on him by doubting him being, as tough of an SOB as he claims to be, and replacing him with tag team partners in just 24 hours after reports leaked out that he was injured at a house show. And he put it aside, but then when he aggravated the knee more, he knew that he was going to have to get this taken care of during the match. And he kept thinking, as quick as the fans turned on him, would do the same thing again. He knew that Johnny Gargano only cared about himself and would do the same damn thing. Leading to, once again, the 322-day wait for the first match in this legendary feud. And that's why this match, the ladder match between DIY and AOP at TakeOver Chicago 1, is number 3 for my best NXT tag matches of all time. Number 2, my best tag team match of 2017. The Authors of Pain versus DIY versus the Revival in a triple threat elimination match at NXT TakeOver Orlando. This was another one of those matches. I mean, I guess with this, I favored this one a little more over the ladder match because the ladder match was a little bit more predictable, but this match was very unpredictable, and it was one of those matches that literally had me sitting on the edge of my seat, up and pacing around because I could believe the stuff happening in this match. From the beginning, again, this is elimination style. Revival and DIY have had their history. They were teaming up, trying to take out their biggest competition, the Authors of Pain. Once again, though, doing some of the craziest stunts, such as taking them out into ladders, into tables, into just power bombing them, to literally double submitting them, putting 2 submissions on one person, and not getting them to tap out. That's just badass there. That was just cool. It was awesome. Like, it's like they're pulling off some of these unbelievable, things teaming up on Authors of Pain trying to get them out. But once again, even though they look dominating, they look like geniuses, they're making Authors of Pain though looking like absolute monsters. Just breaking out of, everything they can break out of, literally taking them out, any opportunity they can get to take them out. And it just was not working. Authors of Pain would not stay down. Eventually, though, DIY was eliminated first, which a lot of people kind of frowned upon that, and I thought that was going to be where the turn happened. But honestly, at the time, Authors of Pain has already proven they could beat DIY. Could they beat the Revival? That was kind of the story there, though. And they eventually would beat the Revival as well, which the match kind of slowed down a little bit, I'll be honest, after, it was just those two teams. But I still say, the moment all three of the teams were in there, this is a dominating match, making everybody look amazing, where the challengers were looking strong, and, they look like they could definitely contend and beat the Authors of Pain, but they just made the Authors of Pain look like unstoppable monsters in this match. Again, especially my favorite part was still when I think one member of the Revival had like a knee bar on them, and I think Gargano put the Gargano Escape in on him as well. And the other member of the Revival, and Ciampa, I think it was trying to prevent the other member of Authors of Pain to get in the ring, but it wasn't enough as he broke up the submission and whatnot. But amazing triple threat match, and my tag team match of 2017. My number one tag team match of all time in NXT. And after this, I'll read off all three lists again before we get to the all-time list. My number one, though, is the Revival versus DIY NXT Tag Team Championship 2 out of 3 falls at NXT TakeOver Toronto. I think for the NXT Choice Awards, this was voted match of the year, like in general. This is my tag team match of the year in 2016. So my overall match of the year was AJ Styles and John Cena at SummerSlam. But this match was great. Amazing. The culmination of that story, with DIY coming in as just an extra tag team with no contracts for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. But they impressed me so much that people wanted to see these guys more. They kept bringing them back. They kept winning matches. They were put on impressive performances. They were getting put over. To them, getting to know the friendship between Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. To knowing that obviously someday these two are going to turn on each other, and it's going to be heartbreaking. To knowing one in the ring, when was that moment going to happen? At times, showing some frustration from Tommaso Ciampa, like not like too obvious, but you see a little bit like background noise involving it. And these two earned their first tag title opportunity for TakeOver Brooklyn. But then, of course, they had gotten Ciampa out of the way, and they had chop blocked Johnny Gargano's leg, and they attacked the bad knee, and Johnny tapped out. They earned themselves another opportunity, 2 out of 3 falls, after Revival costed them their spot in the second Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And these set for this match. And obviously, some things came back to haunt them for the first fall. The second fall, though, DIY eventually would get to even it up at 1 apiece. But the third fall again was literally Revival reverting to how again going the same routine as they did last time, playing the mind games and stuff that DIY was not able to really overcome the last time. Not only did they chop block one of Johnny's legs, they chop block both of them, and it looked like that Johnny Gargano wasn't going to have any strong legs to finish off this match. And Tommaso Ciampa was going to go at it by himself. It was going to look like, seemed like, but Johnny kept fighting through like a badass. He was a different type of Johnny Badass here, not the dark Johnny Badass that we got like a year or so, 2 years later. But it was just literally just that great story with the Revival continuing to succeed those mind games and trying to repeat literally what they did to DIY last time and suffer the same fate. But this time they fought through hard, going from ultimate underdogs to literally just jobber names they brought in for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic to then gain a double submission to become tag team champions and win the third fall. Amazing match. I wish they would have had a little bit of a longer title reign as tag champions, because they did defeat the Revival in a one-on-one rematch, but they did lose the Authors of Pain at TakeOver San Antonio. But just a great match. Unbelievable top to bottom. I loved it. And to me, it is my NXT tag match of all time. So before I check the live chat and get to the all-time list, let me read off the first three lists we've done. So for tag matches, again, we have the Revival and American Alpha from TakeOver Dallas. We got the Undisputed Era, War Raiders, Ricochet, and Pete Dunne, the second War Games match. We got Undisputed Era, Authors of Pain, Roderick Strong, and Pete Dunne in the triple threat TakeOver New Orleans for both the tag titles and the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Cup. Number 7 is the first War Games match between Sanity, Undisputed Era, Strong, and AOP. Number 6 is Undisputed Era and Mustache Mountain, the July 11th episode of NXT. 2018, actually, by the way. July 11th, 2018. Number 5 was War Raiders versus Undisputed Era at TakeOver Phoenix. Number 4 was Undisputed Era versus Street Profits versus Forgotten Sons versus the Brit Arm Brawlers in the ladder match for the tag titles to TakeOver 25. Number 3 was Authors of Pain versus DIY in the ladder match to TakeOver Chicago. Number 2 was Authors of Pain versus DIY versus the Revival in the triple threat at TakeOver Orlando. And number 1 was the Revival versus DIY 2 out of 3 falls at TakeOver Toronto. For women's matches, number 10 was Asuka and Emma at TakeOver London. Number 9 was Paige and Emma at NXT Arrival. Number 8 was Asuka and Nikki Cross, last woman standing in June 2017. Number 7 was Sasha and Becky, TakeOver Unstoppable. Number 6 is Bayley and Sasha in the Iron Man match at TakeOver Respect. Number 5 was a match that just happened in last night's main event. Shayna Baszler and Io Shirai in a steel cage match last night. Number 4, Charlotte and Nadia at NXT TakeOver 2014. Number 3 was Bayley and Asuka at NXT TakeOver Dallas. Number 2, Asuka and Ember Moon at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Number 1, Sasha and Bayley at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 1. And for the men's matches, number 10 is Sammy and Cesaro at NXT Arrival. Number 9 was Sammy and Kevin at TakeOver Arrival. Number 8 is Ciampa and Dream at TakeOver War Games 2. Number 7 is Ricochet and Gargano at TakeOver Phoenix. Number 6 is Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn at TakeOver R Evolution. Number 5 was Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne at TakeOver Chicago 1. Number 4 was Almas and Gargano at TakeOver Philadelphia. Number 3 is Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream versus Lars Sullivan versus Killian Dane versus EC3 versus Ricochet in the North American Championship ladder match at TakeOver New Orleans. Number 2 was Nakamura and Sami Zayn at Dallas. And number 1 was Gargano and Ciampa in the Chicago Street Fight at Chicago 2. So let's check the live chat, and then I will read off to you the 10 matches from all those lists that I chose as the best NXT matches of all time. Let me see here. Let's see here. With how War Games 2 ended, I seriously thought we were going to get a Ricochet and Pete Dunne rematch to TakeOver Phoenix. Same here. I thought we were going to see that as well. That's why I predicted in my card predictions. It's the kind of unfinished business one-on-one. Mustache Mountain versus Undisputed Era on NXT TV. What incredible storytelling that match had for sure. Roddy has great matches with Kalisto and Cedric Alexander in the Cruiserweight tournament last year. Oh, yes, for sure. And he had one good one with Hideo Itami also last year. WWE are hypocrites. Can't let AJ and Charlotte pull a no double duty at TLC 2018. They should have did 2 matches. Why not? Who knows? Why is our team with Roman to face Shane and Drew at crappy rules? No idea. Are you going to review some WCW and ECW shows? Again, I don't know because I haven't really watched any WCW or ECW at all yet. So maybe someday down the line, but probably not anytime soon, but maybe. Shayna versus Io, aka the I don't need friends match. That'd be a weird stipulation for sure, but yeah. Can't forget Dream versus Aleister Black from War Games 1. Enjoy your infamy, Velveteen Dream. I wish you ran on WCW 2000 pay-per-views. I challenge you to watch them. I'll definitely try to watch them sometime, definitely. But again, I got to get to know also the storylines behind them as well before I rant on them. But maybe someday, Tyler, I'll give them a try. But thank you guys for your stuff in the live chat. Let me read off again the matches, though, from those 3 lists that I chose as my top 10 of all time. And then I'm going to bed because I'm roasted. Anyways, though, so my top 10 NXT matches of all time. Number 10, I picked Authors of Pain versus DIY in the ladder match at TakeOver Chicago 1. That's number 10. Number 9 is the triple threat match TakeOver Orlando. Authors of Pain versus DIY and Revival get triple threat elimination for the NXT tag titles at NXT TakeOver Orlando. Number 8, Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne for the United Kingdom Championship at TakeOver Chicago. Number 7 is Almas and Gargano at TakeOver Philadelphia as my number 7. Number 6 is the 6-man ladder match for the North American Championship at TakeOver New Orleans. Number 5 is the Revival versus DIY in the 2 out of 3 falls match at TakeOver Toronto. Number 4 is Asuka and Ember Moon at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Number 3, Sammy and Shinsuke at TakeOver Dallas. With 2 matches remaining, what are my top 2 matches of all time? Drum roll, please, for number 2. Number 2 is the Chicago Street Fight with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Number 1 is the women's title match at TakeOver Brooklyn 1, Sasha Banks and Bayley. Again, I picked that as my number 1 for best NXT matches of all time because that match was the biggest statement made, I gotta say, for NXT. To really put the nail on the nail in the coffin, not nail in the coffin, but basically, just dot the final I, cross the final T of the mission statement of what NXT had really, like the biggest, thing NXT had brought out again is talent in the women's division. And that match, that story, the post-match celebration, like that could have been a main event. That was a main event caliber match right there. That could have main event that show. I mean, Owens and Balor put on an amazing ladder match afterwards to follow that to still keep the crowd into the show. But that women's title match, again, I think was the biggest statement NXT had ever made. And that's why, of course, I gave that my number 1 for best NXT match of all time. So one more time, the list for all time. Number 10 was the ladder match TakeOver Chicago between Authors of Pain and DIY. Number 9 was a triple threat in Orlando between AOP, DIY, and the Revival. Number 8 was a UK title match at TakeOver Chicago between Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Number 7 was Almas and Gargano at TakeOver Philly. Number 6 was a 6-man ladder match for the NXT North American title in New Orleans. Number 5 was the 2 out of 3 falls tag match in Toronto between the Revival and DIY. Number 4 was Asuka and Ember at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Number 3 was Sammy and Shinsuke at TakeOver Dallas. Number 2 was Gargano and Ciampa in the Chicago Street Fight at TakeOver Chicago 2. And number 1, Sasha Banks and Bayley, NXT Women's Championship, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 1. And that, my friends, is this long but fun and amazing stream to talk about for my top 10 NXT matches of all time, involving the men, the women, the tag titles, and of course, all time in general. This is a blast, guys. I know I talked a lot. I'm roasted. I've been up since like 7 o'clock this morning. I'm tired, but I'm going to check the live chat one more time, and I'm checking out of here. But one more time in the live chat. Still my review to rant on WCW pay-per-views in 1999. Goldberg should have beat Brock at WrestleMania 33. Put Goldberg on SmackDown commentary. Could be interesting for sure, indeed. But yeah, Robbie, Tyler, thank you guys so much for joining me for this about 2.5 hour live stream talking about all these NXT matches. That was definitely well worth talking about. And as always, guys, check out both Tyler's and Robbie's channels. Tyler talks a lot about WCW and ECW. I mean, I haven't really watched any ECW, WCW yet, but I just have other stuff I've been focusing on too, but maybe someday I will check them out for sure, Tyler. And of course, Robbie with his amazing, booking videos, especially that I challenge you, Robbie, to fantasy book Ricochet and Triple H. I want to hear that story you want to have for Ricochet and Triple H. But check out all Robbie's videos also. And if you like what you got to hear, get hashtag please sign Robbie trending on Twitter. Of course, now with Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff, executive directors of creative, maybe for both Raw and SmackDown, maybe that could be a sign for Robbie now to be, joining WWE, as there's people who will appreciate Robbie's ideas. But if not, then still NXT or AEW to get hashtag please sign Robbie for trending on Twitter. So guys, once again, what are your thoughts on what are some of your best NXT matches for sure? Again, whether they're men's, women's, or tag teams, or best ones of all time. Leave us down in the comment section below. I have 2 more streams left I want to do involving NXT, which is NXT takeovers and NXT superstars of all time as well. So once again, guys, leave us down in the comment section below. As always, if you guys want to ever do a video response to any of my special live streams, you may do so. Slap a like on my videos to start more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at DemandError93. Also check out my first ever WrestleMania experience documentary found in the description box down below. And of course, I keep pushing the idea of getting my Extreme Rules card breaks up to at least 1,000 views. I haven't had a lot of views on some of my card predictions for quite a while. I used to get like 10,000 views on those. I haven't really touched that in quite a long time. So let's get the views up for those match cards for sure. And again, next week, of course, the next week and a half is going to be crazy with my sister being home visiting. So we're definitely going to be playing some things by ear. So if I don't do any live reviews right away this kind of week, just because of that, but I will get caught up whenever I can, guys. So I'll see you guys all later. Have a great rest of your night. Stay classy, guys. And peace out, everybody. And make sure to always remain glorious.